I met a Gypsy.
All right, Todd Waters joins us in the studio.
Woo! Thanks for having us, Jace. It's been a while, mate.
When was the last time you and Rob, eh?
Yeah. When was that? A year ago or so?
Shit's changed, eh?
A fair bit's gone down. That thing called COVID, I think, hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that got super interesting.
You had a child?
Yeah. Well, I didn't, but Jill did. But I was there.
You were there for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, heaps has gone down, so we
Yeah.
thought we'd get you in, mate. It's been too long.
Yeah, it has been. I walk past every day, so I'm always around, but it has been a while. Yeah. Where do we start, Jace?
Mate, let's start with how fucking absurdly rough Coolum was on Tuesday. Are you serious with that joint?
Oh, here I am. I'm like, nah, I don't go on the weekends because it's too smooth. I wait till they ride all weekend, and then we show up on Tuesday, and it's rough as guts, and I'm smiling. And Jace rocks up with his 125. I'm just gonna train for Rocky. I'm like, you're gonna have fun. Tell us your lap time.
Oh, fuck. Wait, how's this? Oh, Rones already knows. For people out there, this is pretty fucked. Like, proper fucked. I actually would be interested to know what my difference to your lap time was at Manjimup.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be Coolum different.
Nah.
So the first time we went out, Todd was a minute faster than me.
I thought you were taking the piss.
I was like, I mean, I wasn't like trying to do a lap, but still.
Same here.
To see the difference, I reeled it back in. I got it within 40 seconds, but still.
That's pretty good knocking 20 seconds off a lap. Man, I'm pumped if I get 3 seconds off.
Oh, dude. That 125 is not fun to ride around Coolum.
Yeah.
That rough, no sand tyre. Wait, again, no sand tyre. I'm going to buy one of those Ballard's tyre things. I'm going to learn how to change tyres. I just can't keep using that excuse. So it's been 2 years.
Yeah. You can't ride a motorbike and not be able to change your tyre.
Yeah, true.
That's pretty straightforward.
Well, technically I can. I've done it before.
Well, your whole life, actually.
so I can do it, but I don't do it. But I think those days are done because it just makes a difference.
Yeah. Definitely.
I text Townley and I said something. I was like, oh, man, Coolum's not that. Oh, a sand tyre at Coolum makes a big difference, eh? And he goes, yeah, it does. And I go, yeah, I didn't have one today on the 125. And he just sent back a voice, you know, fucking Kiwis like the voice thing.
Yeah. They do, eh?
He just held it down and laughed into his phone. And then that was all the message was. He was just losing it, eh?
I find that pretty funny because Coops, I'll send him a text and then he'll just be like, hey boy, as a podcast reply to you.
Yeah,
I think it's awesome.
They love it, eh? But yeah, so we did call them because we've got King of Capricorn coming up August 20th to 22nd. Toddy will be there. I'm going to try and enjoy it a little bit more than last year. We just weren't prepared last year at all.
You got to ride a little bit and it gets pretty hot up there, so track's not super rough like Coolum, but it's physical. It's got those rollers that get you each lap.
Man, I'm actually dreading hitting those things.
Yeah.
I didn't do them at all good, like the whole weekend of Rocky last year. Like, what do you do, bro? Like, when you're slow and you're not good, like, what do you do through those things?
Oh, just pretend to go off the track and ride around them, I guess.
I did that, like, I reckon 3 laps. I'm not even joking. I was just like, oh, squirrely. Oh.
Yeah, I remember the first year talking about rollers, first year AusX Open, when Chad Reed was running it.
Yeah.
And we went to the second round, I think it was in Adelaide. And I was 16, so I knew nothing about Supercross. It was my first year. And they built
What bike were you on?
On KDM.
Yeah.
And they built these whoops, man. They were like waist deep, like humongous. And I didn't know. And I'm just going, oh, man, I'm going to have to commit to these things. And everyone are just blowing up, you know. And then we watched press day and Chad just went across them. And I'm talking like Marmot and Boydie and these guys are like trying to jump through them. And like, it was ridiculous how good Chad was
compared
at a set
to
of massive whoops like that. Like, I don't think they build them that big in America. Like that, these things were monsters. And anyway, in our race, I just remember seeing everyone go dad, 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 off the side of the track and back on. And I'm just like, that's weird that they can stuff up 3 laps in a row and make 20 meters on me. Far out.
Did you go through them every time?
Yeah.
Fuck.
But yeah, they got real sketchy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, when you go out to a track like Coolum on a day, so they had the club day on the weekend, and then they leave it rough for Tuesday practice. That was as legitimately rough as a motocross track can get.
Yeah, like it's rough like our national. Like the end of the day, our national gets like that. And it's insane. You know, a 2-day, it'd be really interesting to see if they had a GP there, because that's the difference.
Yeah.
See, a GP like Lommel, for example, they'll have 30-minute practice, 30-minute time qualifying, then you have a 20-minute qualifying race.
Yeah.
And then they just smooth the start straight out, man. Like, I kid you not. You go back out. So then the next day you roll up. You haven't even scored a point yet. And you roll out and you got a 20-minute practice, like warm up. And the track is exactly how the moto was. And you've got, the issue with it is you got MX2, you've got MX1, you've got the
EMX.
the 300 class, the 2-stroke class. You got, the EMX 250 boys. It's like these support classes come in. It's just dreadful. Like the first moto. Well, I go out for the qualifying. You saw from the day before. Yeah. And then you go out in the qualifying race and you just go... I mean, you go out in your first moto, and you just go, man, this is like... So, to be honest, like if you did that at Coolum, like if you put that amount of classes on with that format, like it'd be dreadful. Yeah. Because it is a pretty gnarly track. You see how it gets quite like deep but sharp bumps. Yes. And you can't get a flow. Yeah. Like sort of Lommel, those tracks, you can carry speed and flow, whereas our tracks get really slow.
I think it's just because they're short. Yeah. Like it's short straight, so it's just like, because I was thinking about that, because Coolum, like the track itself, it's in like a small rectangle. It's not like an open kind of, layout where there's sort of big sweepers. Everything's turning back on itself. Yeah. So it's just like fucking 180 bot, 180 bot, 180 bot.
Yeah, it's accelerate hard, brake hard. Whereas overseas, that's what's tricky in America is there's no real braking. Like, for us, we accelerate like hell.
Then on the binders.
Yeah, and we brake because our corners are so tight. Yeah. And then usually straight out of a corner's a jump. Yeah. And then we got a straightaway. Like, you jump straight away, so you're off the seat. You pretty much jump as far as you can, kind of feeling like seat bounce something, and then you get on the gas. Yeah. Whereas what I found when I went to Europe is it's like you come out of a corner and you click in fifth gear, and then you're like, oh, they've put a big single here. I don't know how to scrub. I've never had to. Like that's really difficult. Like you just Torch and Tell's a good one. You're just coming down the finish line. They're massive. Kids on 85s are jumping them. Yeah. When I went to Torch and Tell, I'm like wedged on a 450 hitting the finish line and uphill triples, and you go, this is psycho. Yeah. Like it is a lot to get used to. And you can see just by our tracks, like they're quite short and they get ruddy and rough and really tricky to ride. But
it's different.
Yeah. It seems different.
And it's like man, that's why I think I enjoyed Manjimup so much. Yeah. Because, dude, it was just so spread out and it's so fast and, massive turns and you could really hold speed. And, to be, in fifth gear on a motocross track on a motocross bike, that was pretty fucking sick. Yeah. But, and you can see the, Manji got rough, obviously. But it didn't get crazy rough. Yeah. But, it was good rough. It had flow, and then it was like you're accelerating through the rough shit and trying to keep momentum as opposed to just brakes go, brakes go, brakes go, brakes go. And you could see it develops in a bit of a different way. Yeah. And that's it's interesting that you talk about Manji, people say, man, it's so fast. And it is, it's a fast track, to what we're used to, but reality is Torch and Tell, the start straight, you need to add another 100 meters on the end of that whole straight. Really? So it's even bigger. Oh man, Torch and Tell, and the width of it, you feel when you ride the tracks over there, you never know where the edge of the track is. It feels like they're so wide. Whereas ours, you come out of a turn, you're like, oh, I'm on the edge of the track now. Yeah. It's really different. And yeah, honestly, Torch and Tell, can you Google a photo of that? Roans, I want to see that. Yeah, that's German, right? Yeah. Yeah. So they had the nations there. It's a really cool track, and it's just off the start, man. It just goes. Yeah, good work, Roans. Just go German GP German MXGP.
Yeah, or MX or Nations. Yeah, see the start? Look at the YouTube clip, the next one across.
Just turn the volume down on it. Yeah, and you don't really get a perspective for that shit, if you're not watching on TV.
So watch this start. You go down this start straight, right?
Oh, it's downhill too.
Yeah, into a corner. And then you go wedged, like your top gear,
Really?
up to this massive, that's a single. And I'm going, oh yeah, so how do you scrub again? You just turn the handlebars on the up ramp. And then wedged, and that's a triple downhill, like, you know, it's really fast track.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
and
no,
just
it's
cool.
It's
Oi.
we are easy. Yeah, Manji was such a great experience to ride like such a fast track here, man. Like it was just such a cool eye-opening experience. And then to see, you know, one of the funny things I wanted to, well, a bit later, I wanted to like talk about some technique shit.
Yeah.
I just realized at Manji, I'm actually not that good at going really fast in a straight line.
Yeah.
Like it's actually super hard to hold your bike wide open down a rough straightaway. And I really realized that at Manjimup because I was watching the videos and I'm like, you're just not going fast enough.
Yeah.
Like you're in a straight line and you're not going very quick.
Yeah. And that's a lot of people think about, you know, braking and accelerating hard. And when you watch the fast dudes, they don't brake as much. But when they do, you know, the transition from this to this is not much. Like they brake, they roll, and then they just power on.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, you watch and you stand there and you watch Jeffrey Hurlings is a good example. You watch him and you go, man, like he doesn't look like he's
that fast.
10 seconds lap faster.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because the transition isn't there. Whereas then the further back you go, you start to see accelerating super hard.
Yeah.
They brake, they wash all their speed off. And then because your brain goes, oh man, I'm
need
going
to speed
slow.
up. Yeah.
It's wide open again. So you get like the bikes going like this and like, so there's not many people that can do it like in the world. Like, you know, the top dudes, and you see they come into turns and they just keep going and they power out. Like, and that just makes it so smooth. Stefan Everts was one that I'll never forget. I was 15. He come over for the Oceania over in New Zealand at Telpo. Yeah. And Dad and I were standing there and they have this big skyline jump.
I remember that actually.
Yeah, and you go down the hill into this turn. And he rode a dead standard YZF 450. And everyone's coming down, braking, like changing down gears and going. And Coops rode insane there.
Yeah.
And Everts, the one thing I noticed there was he was coming down and into that corner, he'd click up a gear and just let the bike go. And I was like, wow. Like, and that's what I'm sort of talking about.
Yeah.
Everts he just knew how to keep that bike flowing, and that's what you see with these really top guys.
Yeah, that whole like if you haven't watched all of our vlogs, go watch our vlogs on YouTube. We put in a lot of effort. The whole series is up there for anyone that's interested in watching. But it was really cool for me as a rider, like as someone that tries to get better at riding, that's not good at riding, and then to see footage of me riding the same track as like you and Regan and Cloudy. Like I've actually got, you know, back-to-back footage.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to see just the differences and how you can compare like body position and stuff like that. And even I think that from looking at like the practice footage, I went through and looked at all the footage of me riding and then looked at all the footage of you boys riding, and I made some changes based on like what I saw and actually think I got better at it. But it's so cool to be able to have that back to back on the same track, see the lines and just see the speed and cool thing with Manji, like, you know, you got the Jim's jump and then the single and you go left and then you've got that big single.
Yep.
And like to see the point where you guys are landing off that thing and to see like, man, some of Regan and Cloudy's fucking scrubs off that thing. Like they are fucking wedged, man.
Yeah.
And like to have back to back footage of like me doing a thing on the same day, the same track, the same, all the conditions are the same, and then seeing you guys do it, you're just like, holy fuck. And you can see where the lap time is.
Yeah.
You know, like you can really see, you know, like you said, you know, you could fucking probably, if you worked on it, as like, say if me and you went and coached there the next day, I know you did a school, but like, man, you could probably drop the lap time down significantly just with like a bit of extra knowledge about like what you're doing and what place on what part of the track.
Yeah, and that's what makes racing really tricky. All the work's done during the week, because when you turn up on race day, it almost all goes out the window. Knees start coming forward.
Yeah.
You know, the head starts coming away from the handlebars. Like you say, it's actually a difficult thing to hold the thing wedged.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds stupid, but coming out of a turn when everything's happening, a lot of the time, like off start, sometimes you go, oh, I still got some more left.
Yeah.
Like, because on these new bikes, the throttles are quite long.
Yeah.
So, especially on a 450, because they got so much power that sometimes you don't think you need that. And half the time you're riding 3/4 throttle.
Yeah.
But it is, like, I find with myself, I worked I've spoke about it before. I did a few days with Ben Townley, and I just learnt so much off him. And it was like, I really just wish I could go back in time. Like, honestly, like I just really do, but you can't. And in 2019, I just focused on it. That's all I did. I'd get, honestly, at the Nationals, I'd get into the lead, like at Broadford, and I'd just go stand up, drop my heels, get my legs back, chin forward, and I'm just working on stuff.
Yeah.
And it was really enjoyable. It made riding fun for me, and I really worked on my technique. And then, this year's been really interesting because 2 weeks before the first round, we had a little Macy, and then COVID hit. So the guys phoned up and they were like, hey, if you don't get out of the state and they close the borders, we're running the race anyway. And I was just like, man. So we hired a camper van. We had a 2-week-old baby. We jumped in the motorhome. Jill's just been
Super
a legend,
mum,
because that's, end of the day, that's what makes it all happen is the mum. She's the one that drives the show, because we can't do anything. So if you've got a supportive person in your back corner, it makes a massive difference. So we just hired a motorhome. We drove 18 hours down. So we got to Newcastle and we rode with Jai Roberts, and we stayed at their place. And middle of the night, Jill just wakes up and she's just like, this is on Tuesday before the race. It's like 2:00 in the morning. Todd, we gotta go. And I'm like waking up, because I'm up in the top bunk, she's down the bottom. I'm like climbing down this ladder in the middle of the night, and I'm like, what's wrong, Jill? She's like, we gotta go to the hospital. We gotta go hospital. And I was like, why? What's happening? She just power spewed, man. Just in the middle
Macy
of the camper.
or
No,
Jill?
Just power spewed. And I was just like, oh my God. Because she was 2 weeks since she had the baby.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what have I done? Like, it was a great idea at first, but I'm like, man, this is heavy. So the camper had a slide out on it. So I'm middle of the night, freezing cold. I'm out there like trying to wind the slider in, wind up all the cords, the water, like everything.
Oh.
Finally get it going. I can't see because the thing's all fogged up. I'm trying to drive my head out the window. Oh. We get to the hospital. I'm in a camper. There's no motorhome parking. So I'm just like, I've done like 2 laps. I'm wound up. I'm like, Jill, you're going to have to get out and I'll just come find you. So then I've got Macy screaming, and I'm a new dad. I know nothing about this stuff. Prams, man. You get a pram out and you're like, okay, press these buttons. It doesn't fold out. And I'm about to toss the thing over there. Like, I'm pretty wound up. So yeah, we go in. So she ended up having a urinary tract infection, which went into her blood or whatever it does.
Yeah.
And, so she got really sick. So she was on antibiotics through a drip for 2 days.
Wow.
And so I'm literally got the camper in the staff parking where I'm not allowed to be. I'm like right down the back, like hiding. We've got the little dog, so I'm taking him for runs in the morning, and it was real funny. I went and hung out with with Johnny and the boys from Lusty.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm up having breakfast with Jilly and everything, looking after Macy, like trying to. I don't know how. I'm a new dad apparently. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah. So anyway, I end up saying to the doctors, I'm like, hey, I don't mean to be like a retard, but are we able to go soon? Like, we got to drive to Melbourne. It's another 12 hours. Like, we got to get down to Wonthaggi. They're just like, so? Anyway, we ended up getting out. Jilly was all good, and like, there was positives to it. Like, I kind of seen like Jill, when we're at home, I was like, she had an emergency C-section. It went for 30 hours, her birth. Like, it was horrible time. It was meant to, like, sort of plan. Jill's a women's health physio, so she wanted, like, no intervention. She wanted, like, all natural, and she was hoping for water birth, but it just went actually complete opposite. And so when she was at home, I'm like, just sit down. Like, stop moving. Like, don't do anything, you know? You've been cut open and couldn't keep her still.
It's real gnarly too, because like when I had my kidney operated on, it's the same kind of cut that they do. It goes all through your abs, all through everything. Holy fuck, it hurts, dude. Yeah. And they make you stand up pretty much straight away. It's gnarly. Yeah.
Well, Jill was out like straight up, and so when we had her in the motorhome, like, you know, she's sitting next to me, we're driving, we're pulling up, she's feeding Macy. It was really good. Macy slept the whole way pretty much. We'd have to wake her up, like just the car. And
that's awesome.
So it was cool. But then, we ended up getting out, and then we just drove straight down and then raced the first round. So it was like, where I was getting with this was all this kind of happened at once, and then we're racing the first round of Nationals. As soon as I went out on the track, like everything that I'd been working on for the last pretty much 2 years went out the window. Gone. I mean, like, I couldn't believe it. I just went out, my knees dropped forward, my chin come up, like, you know, just everything. So pretty much where I got to, like, I look at it like, you know, we raced overseas, whatever we achieved. I rode with pretty flat-footed, knees forward, and, you know, head straight up, like straight back.
Yeah.
And the only way I got away with it was because I used to train extremely hard, and I had strong core and really strong back muscles, like all my lats. And so pretty much, like, you know, Jesse Dobson always cracks off at me that I just deadlift the bike around, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
For 35 minutes, I'd just be coming, man, and I'd just be lifting my bike around. Line selection, like, you know, I feel like that was one of my strengths, was picking lines and making it easier for myself. But at the end of the day, it just didn't work, like my technique. And I realized that when Ben spent 2 days with me and pointed some stuff out, I was just like, you shouldn't have done that, man. Like,
you've fucked me forever.
So yeah, basically my knees are forward, I'm flat footed, so all that does is put weight forward, which makes no weight on the back tire, so I spin everywhere. That's why I'm a good sand rider and a good rut rider, because I don't spin. As soon as I get on hard pack, I just light up the back tire. That's basically. So I worked heaps on getting my ankles down, stand on my toes. That brings the knees back, you know, so then the head comes forward to compensate. And you get a spread out, balanced rider on the bike. You know, the geometry of the bike works properly, where,
once it goes out the window. Well, that's one of the things, like, so it's funny, October 2019 was the first time that I did the Townley thing. That's the first time I ever started riding on my toes. And pretty much, like, I decided that day, I didn't really give a fuck, because it's not like I was that fast anyway. I didn't really have speed to lose. But I was like, I'm done. I'm never not riding on my toes again. And I even said to myself, I was like, I'm just not going to use the back brake for, like, as long as it takes to get comfortable just being on my toes. And I, like, pretty much 2 years later, that's finally there. But then now, like, you've got to move on to, like, the next thing, you know. It's like there's just these links that you've got to kind of fit together to get in the, like, the right position. And and so now it's like I feel like I got the riding on the toes dialed. Like, even at Coolum on Tuesday, like, I'm no problem. I can ride on my toes the whole time. Like, that doesn't fuck with me at all now. But just everything else out the window as soon as it gets that rough, you know. Like, and then I even Crawford took a video, and my knees, I was on like a slow, I was sort of just rolling, but even then my knees come forward, and I'm trying to make it so even when I'm like rolling and doing a slow lap, my knees are back, like, you can be in the right position even when you're going slow. But, like, man, once it gets rough, like, that shit just out the window.
But that's when it works. Like, you know, the first thing I noticed with Ben was, like, for me, as soon as all I did is move my feet back, and that when I dropped my ankles, my legs moved back. And I just kept nearly flipping it. I was just like, holy
because your head was back.
But just the drive my back tire was getting. And then straight away, like, going through rollers, instead of the back wheel coming off and going like that, you know, straight away I was just manual and things, because I've been riding my whole life. So when you make a change like that, it just happens. Things happen.
Yeah.
And straight away when I'm doing laps, like I'd scrub a jump, and then when I'd land, my legs would come and I'd push on the down ramp. I felt like I was riding a BMX bike just from moving my feet back, you know, and my legs started working. I was just like, wow, like I've got such big muscles in my legs, but I don't use them. I just cramp them up.
Yeah.
So but going back, like I raced Wonthaggi, like the first round, like qualifying in the time qualifying, I had a big crash at the end of the straight because my knees were forward and all the weight went on the front tire and it just folded and put me over the front. And I knew it, but I was so exhausted. My brain was
you were just fried
in a different place that I was literally just going out there and I was just riding, and that's what happened. Like, I couldn't believe it that I'd worked on something for 2 years, but then when I just go into like a exhausted sort of just ride the
just
bike
survival,
mode, it just goes back. Like, I just couldn't believe it. And that's been my biggest challenge this year is I'm like, man, I know how I'm meant to ride.
Yeah.
Like how I want to, sorry.
Yeah.
And that's been my challenge this year is like just trying to weigh up that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
I was pretty stoked. Like pretty much all the photos and stuff I saw. Like Manji was not too rough to where I couldn't do my technique. So like that's pretty much what I focused on the whole time at Manji. I was like, okay, get it as good a start as you can, and then just ride around with good technique. Like that's all you got to do for this entire time. And I was able to kind of commit to that, but that's because it wasn't too rough. You know, like once it gets too rough, man, like, it's just fucking. And I mean, 125 Coolum's probably just not the best fun for me anyway. That's my excuse. But yeah, it's like I was pretty stoked to stay in that headspace because I know what you mean. Like Coolum was the same for me. Like there was no technique that was going on there. Like I had my fucking bar pad pro thing on, my lap pro.
You probably couldn't even look at it.
Nah, dude. On the second or the third moto that I did, I stared at the fucking thing. I was just like, you need to look at the track, bro. It's like, I was talking to Townley after, I was like, you know when you're doing a bridge and you're just fucking staring at like, you're looking at the smallest number on the end of the seconds and you're just watching it. That's what I was doing at the third. I was like, fucking hit 12, you bastard. And that was just a 12-minute moto.
Yeah.
But gnarly too as well. Like you go out to a track like Coolum when it's that rough.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other pro boys there. Mate, you were the one that put in the fucking effort. And it's like there's a number one player on the bike and, well, you were the fucking dude that did the most amount of laps. You were the dude that did, you know? So it's like it kind of becomes clear when you go to somewhere like that who's fucking doing the work, like because that's like the dog work, you know? And even me and Matt, like we knew it was going to be rough as fuck and we knew we were going to suck so bad, but we literally went there for that.
Yeah, but that's why I can't whip, because that's just the reality. Like as a kid, if there was a rough corner, I'd be trying to jump the bumps in and I'd be hitting the corner, and you know, because like back in the day, freestyle and that sort of stuff wasn't really a thing, like back in our younger years. So for me, it was like corner for dough, jump for show, and that's really, you know, that saying was a thing back then. Yeah, and I'll never forget it. Like Jared McNeil, you know, I was mates with Jared. Obviously not best mates because he lived at the other side of the country. I lived in Cairns and he was down the other end. So we'd see each other at races and stuff. And I'll never forget at Coolum sitting on the start line. And I was just like, man, what's the go with the grip tape up your forks? Like he had like skate grip tape up his fork tubes, like at the top.
Yeah, for when he did cliffhangers.
Yeah, and he's just like, oh man, that's when I do cliffhangers. And I'm like, what are you doing cliffhangers for, man?
What are you up to?
I just never forget just being like, man, I'm just trying to scrape bars in the turns. Hey? Like, I'm just trying to hit as fast as I can. I couldn't be bothered doing cliffhangers. And like, I just remember him chucking whips. He was always doing whips and stuff. And like, now what's he do? He gets paid more than anyone doing whips. Yeah. Like, honestly, it's just insane. And that's, I guess, what's so cool about this day, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Like, our era now, I've seen the progression. I've come from a little farming town where I've gone into the racing side. Now I'm doing video projects, getting paid to to pretty much look after a video project where I get myself to do it. And it's like, that's so weird. You just want this for like social media. Like,
Yeah.
I remember rewind like 2013 when I first went to Europe. Like Matty was always like, man, you need to be posting. No one even looks at this stuff, man. Like, who cares?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's been one of the coolest things to watch. So obviously, like, COVID hits. I mean, it's kind of fucked how it's worked for you. Like, you work your whole life to get a number one plate on your bike.
Yeah, it's funny, timing,
Dude, literally have like this 2019 season where you're just clearly the dude in Oz and finally get it done. And then 2020 hits, COVID, and, you know, you've gone from... It's gnarly too. Like, the team that won both championships in 2019 doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's just been the most bizarre time for motorcycles.
Yeah.
So that happens. You and Wilson win on DPH. That team goes bust. You take over the Husky stuff. That kind of goes bust as well with COVID. And then, man, like... You've had to fully reinvent yourself over these last 12 months, and you've done a fucking good job.
It's been wild. Like, unfortunately, the riding side of it has taken a toll. Like, you know, I'm not 20 anymore living at mum and dad's. Like, so the reality is, like you just explained, DPH went under, which I was devastated about. Like, for me, Dale put in more effort than I've seen most ever put in. Like, I mean, the commitment he had was... Like, he was using money that he didn't really have, you know, like, no one does that. Normally people are doing stuff to make money, you know, like the passion that he put into Wilson and I, and that drove me more than anything to win races, because I was just like, it's just insane. He's working till 3 a.m. to get stuff done. And we won both championships. It was insane, you know, and then talking about the next year and, you know, normally it would just progress on. I'd start where we left off, you know, and we'd keep testing and progressing and happy days. But everything happened. So then Dale sort of pulled out.
So they pulled out before COVID was even a thing. So there was like some problems, I guess, within the industry for like, because you're not in it. The industry is not in a good spot when the team that wins both championships can't show up to the line the next year. And this was before COVID.
It just shows that it's not a profitable thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's the reality of it.
Not even profitable. It's not even a thing that you can break even on, apparently.
Yeah. So that sort of happened. And then we got handed the Husqvarna gig because there was nothing else. So I threw my hand up and I was like, yeah, we'll run it. So we had Regan on the 250 and then COVID hit. That's end of story. So there's, you know, at the end of the day, you can't get paid to do nothing. Like, we can't race the COVID. Like, so it all folded. I'd invested quite a lot into it. So that was like a bit of a punch in the guts. And that's COVID. Like, and then in saying that, like, everyone has their story about COVID. But for me, in my time, you got to remember, I've come back from Europe. Like, that's said and done. You know, like, yeah, I can go back. I can run 10s, 15s. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
But, you know, I left getting top 5s. I stood on the podium. Like, that, you know, that there. Is,
like, you achieved what you wanted to achieve there.
Yeah, but that was, like, I can look back and be like, man, if I did this and did that and stayed longer or whatever, you know, but that's said and done. So my career now is, you know, I'm like, I want to achieve what I can here in Australia. At the end, well, in saying that, at the end of the day, I love riding my bike. Like, that's, and you can see that in my work. Like, I race motocross, I race off-road, I run riding schools, you know, like, every chance I got, I'm doing video projects, anything I can do on a motorbike. Like, I just love it. So that's me. Like, I just want to be a brand ambassador. I just want to be on Husqvarna and ride them for forever. You know, I've got 701 Modard that I do video projects on. Like, I love it. So for me, COVID was probably the best thing that could ever happen. Because honestly, if we look back, we win the championship. The next year, we progress on. All of a sudden, because I've been racing for like 15 years pro now or more. Yeah. So what? Yeah. Where's it stop? It's just going to be another 5 years or 10 years. And then when it stops, it hits hard.
Yeah.
Because you live this life, you get, you get rewarded, you get a lot of effort and time put into you, and I've seen it with all the riders that have retired. They just go, they go to a mine. Oh, that's shit. Like, I'll go drive a truck for 10 hours.
And no one gives a fuck who you are.
Yeah.
And you've just gone from this place where everyone's just lording over how sick you are and like you're the fucking man, and then you go to a mine site and they're just like, hey cunt, see you on the bus at 5 o'clock in the morning, like, and you're just a shit kicker like the rest of us.
What do you mean you can't weld?
You won what? I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. So for me, like, COVID hit.
I just gotta let Hell's kick up.
Yep. Yeah, so for me, COVID hit and I just went, man, I gotta make something happen. Like, it really made me just sit down. I was pretty much retired. Like, I had no job. So I just went, well, I've got one of the best mechanics I've worked with in the workshop. I'm sponsored by Snap-on Tools. I've got a workshop full of Snap-on tools. I'm like, man, I'm going to get on the tools. So I just started doing top-end rebuilds, like started up T-Dub Garage, and that just started progressing and started turning over cash. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I was like, man, I'm just gonna run my own gear. And so I just started making my own gear, and that was something that I probably should have thought a little bit more about. To be honest, like, like, it's happened. I've done it, but I'm like, that's a big project.
It's a lot.
Like, I'm like the moving parts, and COVID hit, and I had pretty much 8 months, and I spent 8 months developing and doing things, and now it's rolling on. Our first bulk shipment just landed.
Sick.
So the pants they're coming next week.
Yeah.
So like it's gonna start rolling, but I'm like, man, what have I done? Like I've done something that is like that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I look back and I'm just like, I'm racing both championships. I'm running all these rides. I'm doing all this stuff.
Yeah, you've been busy.
And I'm like, I don't understand how I've started a riding gear company, but it's sick. Like, I've designed it all myself. I've learned all the Adobe programs. Like, I'm just like, I don't know. I just can't sit still. So I've got ADD. I just go for it.
Yeah.
But it's right now, like, I'm just, dudes are like, hey man, can you chuck an SKDA jersey print on the back of the jersey when it comes? And then the next text message would be like, hey man, can you do a top end rebuild on my bike? And then next text message, hey man, we should do some testing on your bike. Hey man, can you take a photo of these supplements?
Hey, can you please come help me with the kid?
Yeah, we want to do a tire test. Oh yeah, hey Macy, we got to go take Macy swimming. Like, it's really busy times, and I'm like, yeah, I remember years ago, Jill actually saying to me, she was just like, you do nothing. And I'm just like, what do you mean? I'm just like horrified. I'm like, we train so hard, man. Like, what do you mean? She's like, yeah, but then what? I'm like, we're recovering, man. Like, you go ask pro riders now, like, they're just under the pump, they race.
So busy.
They race like 10 motocrosses for the year.
Yeah.
And then there could be like 6 supercross.
That's 16 races.
Yeah. And like, but you got to do testing as well. And
yeah, true.
Yeah. But honestly,
I ride twice a week.
Like, now I'm doing the same thing, and I'm just like, holy, I didn't know you could fit that much more in. But it's fun. Like, I'm learning business. I'm learning that side of things, and I think the gear thing's probably the coolest thing I've kind of.
Have you got it on the
done.
website yet?
Yeah, so I've done a website up.
Go to it. I want to see the fucking. So I run some gear at Manji. Todd got me my own T-Dub gear with Gypsy on the back and 45. Wore it in the first moto. Had a fucking cartwheel and ripped the shit out of it. It wasn't a product flaw. I feel like a fourth gear cartwheel at Manjimup would rip any gear.
.com.au, big fella.
But yeah, I really, really, really liked.
There it is.
I really like the gear. You've done a really good job. So much so that I wore my ripped gear at Coolum just because it's really comfortable.
Yeah, so for me, I've obviously
Look at this shit.
I've
So
worn
sick.
gear my whole life. You can't ride without gear.
Yeah.
And I've rode for the biggest brands in the world. So T-Dub to me is gear that I want to wear. So I've developed gear that I want. You know, I want this in here, I want that in there. So I want a nice race fitting gear.
Oh, you got the fist socks as well?
Yeah. So
Dude, you got everything.
we've done a collab with Sam. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, so it's been pretty cool watching the development, because you've really like changed materials in certain bits. Like you've gone full gear mode on it.
Well, the crazy thing is I had a template from ages ago, and I did a design on it, right? And I sent it off to the manufacturer, so I deal straight with them, and I'm like, so they sent me photos of the samples that they do, and I'm like, oh, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I want. I'll make a few changes, but here's the design. I even had in the document, I was like, here's the design, a photo of your thing on your, like, that's what I want, like those pants with this design on it. They come and I pull them out, and my gut has never dropped so much in my life. I just went, this is not the pants that I ordered. Like, and I lost my nana, and but then I looked at it and I called Jill and I was like, come and look at this, man. I was like, from this template that I've just sent them on a piece of paper, front and back, they've made those pants to a T. Exactly. Like, couldn't have done it any better. I just went, this is insane. I could literally just send them a photo of me and they'd make it. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe what they did.
Really?
Yep. So then I had to get onto them like, hey, can you send me your exact template? Oh yeah, no dramas. And they just sent it over. I was just like, so that's my fault. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And I've heard of a company over in America, big company, a big shipping container turns up, they pull out, so they're like those rain jackety, like riding jackets that you put on for like off-road and stuff. And they've pulled out a container of these tops, and on here, across here, it has a box and it has place logo here, like in it. They printed that. Fuck. It's meant to have like their brand on it, you know? And so I've been told stories like this afterwards, so I'm so careful now. I've got like that many red arrows going on things, and now I've got it under control. And like on the pants, it's really cool, because what I've really worked on is a nice slim fit pant, so it's stretchy material. So just click on it, Rowan. So at the top, see up the top, you can zoom in. So the buckle go across a bit. Yeah, see how it pulls across the side? Yeah. I wanted to make it like look cool, like, so I've just added in all these little things. They're what I want to wear. Like, and I just get little pieces like that. I'm like, oh, that would be cool. Oh, I wore these pants and it fit really nice here. And because all pants, you wear one brand, all the top brands, and they send you a 32 in a set of pants, and then they'll send you like the race set or something. Yeah. And it'll be like so tight that you can hardly wear them. Yeah. So it's really hard with sizing. I've been going through that. I got all the kids' stuff, and they didn't allow for knee braces. So they were built pretty much like a set of jeans where they just follow your leg down, whereas we need like space around the knee. Yeah. And so I had the kids, they couldn't even put them on, and I was just like, oh. So I'm out, I'm like making templates and sending photos of like rulers across it, and so I've literally like developed these pants, and it's just, I don't know, it's different, because when I see photos now, I'm just like, it's cool.
Yeah, right? Dude.
Because at the end of the day, I just look back and I'm like, imagine if like Craig Dack, I see photos of Dack and Leesky and Glenn Bell like in rat gear, and that's Australian brand. You used to be able to like pull out the ADB, like put like Todd Waters on there and everything, and they make jerseys for you. Yeah. And that's gone. Like, and it's just all these big brands. So like, you name it, Fox, all these guys, when they release their seasons, it's like Roxon and, you know, this and that. What the vision for T-Dub is like to involve Australian dudes. Like, you know, I've got a junior program. Yeah. They're running supplemented jerseys. I'm using them in social stuff, and I'm still trying to get things rolling, like content and stuff. And
Yeah.
but that's what I want. I want like people that are involved, and like I'm helping out clubs, and it's just fun.
It's
really
awesome,
fun.
dude. Like, man, it's funny when you you know, when someone gives you something that they made and they're like one of your mates, and you just hope it's not shit.
Yeah.
That's like me with the podcast. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, got a podcast, don't listen to it, it's probably shit. But you gave me that gear at Mangy, and I was like, fuck, I hope this isn't shit, because Todd's my fucking best mate.
It's like size 40, and just got a belt around.
I was like, I'm gonna wear it even if it is shit. But fuck, I hope it's not shit. And then I got it, I was like, wait, this is proper.
Yeah. No, I was stoked. The jersey's nailed straight up. Like, it's, I don't know, it's like this real slippery material, and when you just slip them on, you're like, oh, that's silky. Like,
Yeah, it is.
I haven't really
nice.
found that. So it's, and I'm just telling it how it is. Like, I'm not trying to sell it. And that's what I said. Like, I'm not doing this to make millions of dollars. Like, I'm doing it so at the end of my time, when my kids come through, I'm just going to be like, yeah, that jersey I raced in Twitch and Tell, that jersey I did this, and the nation's there, and that was my first jersey I made. Like, I just do stuff just because I want to do it.
Yeah.
If I could sew it, I'd sew it myself. You know me.
Yeah, fucking oath. You'd fucking spray paint it and do all types of shit. You'd make a fucking mess and a bunch of noise.
Yeah. So, nah, it's really, that's been a fun project. And Jill's been super supportive of it. Like, she's been helping out heaps with the website and things behind the scenes, which is, I kind of look and it's like all top dudes. They got like a good chick behind them, like these big businesses and stuff. So important.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's one thing to, it's not even having them do heaps of stuff. It's just the support. You know, if you come home, that won't work. You won't get this. Like,
yeah.
makes it hard. So I'm lucky there, and it's progressing. It's been a fun project.
Yeah, man, it's so cool. And it's just sick to see that. Fuck, man, it'd be so easy for you to just drop your bundle and just be like, fuck this, fuck the sport. Like, how many top level guys do you know where as soon as the sport gives them lemons, they're just like, fuck the industry. The industry's fucked. Like, I'm going to work in the fucking mines.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm going to go make some real money. And it's just like, and I mean, dude, even with some of the stuff that we've got going on lately, you see like guys that just dipped out on the industry for fucking, as soon as it wasn't paying them hundreds of thousands of dollars, right?
Yep.
And I mean, pet peeve, but there's like guys that were making fucking squillions out of the industry. They dip. Haven't seen them in years. All of a sudden, there's a bit of momentum going, and we've got some cool events going and cool shit. All these guys popping back in that just dipped out on the sport because the fucking industry is doing good again, and they can get something out of it. And it's just like, man, there's been so many of those dudes, and it's just so cool to see like you hit that crossroad where you could have been like, I'm the fucking champ, like number one plate on my bike. And I mean, I'm sure like, well, I know you've got some bitter feelings towards it, but it's not like you've stopped that from progressing you. And like now, man, you've gone, and all this shit's got so much more legs than, you know, if you did get a bigger contract for the next year and got to defend your title, like that's a 12-month thing. Like you're building something that you can do for year on year on year on year on year. Yeah. And I just think it's such a feather in your cap that you never did the fuck the industry, fuck this, and dipped out, you know, which so many guys at the top of our sport do. And they only come back. They only come back when they can get something out of it.
Yeah. And it's all money driven. See, I'm not money driven. That's the biggest thing. Like, you know, I do things because I need to make money. Everyone needs to do that. But like the reality is, like, man, we're less than half of what we used to get paid. Yeah. Like, and I don't care because to be honest, like I love riding my Husky, and I can ride whatever bike I want. Yeah. Like, you know, but I really enjoy riding my bike, and that's the number one for me. Yeah. Like, and the real fun thing for me at the moment is I've almost got their whole range. You know, like we're gonna go King of Capricorn. I'm gonna ride the 252 stroke. I'm gonna ride the 450. This weekend, I'm going to Condale to ride the off-road bikes, so the Queensland State titles. Yeah. You know, like, and then we're doing a video project on the 701. Like, you know, I'm just spreading. I just love it. Like, and that's what I kind of look at. These guys that are money-driven, they get so bound up and they forget what's going on. Yeah. Like, hey, dude, like, realistically, there's 10 dudes in Australia that are doing this. You know, that's, man, go and ask how many dudes are getting paid to play football.
Yeah.
Like there's hundreds and hundreds. There's lucky to be 10 of us. It's you got to be lucky. Sometimes you got to step back and just be like,
if you're
hey man,
getting a check from the sport, you're killing it.
Oh, it's insane. So for me, I'm just like, the gear thing, I felt really good at Manjimup, you know. So Manjimup, we raced there. Like I didn't ride good at all. Like,
Yeah, you were
and
shit,
that's sweet. Like, yeah, but for me, like,
nah, you rode fucking good.
no,
It's just,
but the thing that people don't see, like, for me as an athlete, it's like, oh yeah, like my starts weren't there. This, I jumped off the track and whatever. Like,
Yeah.
short races, they don't suit me. Like,
Yeah.
who cares? But end of the day, I'm just like, man, Cloudy rode insane.
yeah,
End of story. Like, that's hey, yeah, I think I can beat him because that everyone thinks that.
Yeah.
Like that's how it is, you know. And let's go on a rough track and do this or whatever situation. But I'm like, that's what I've really, and I've kind of been like that my whole life. Like when dudes beat me, I'm just like, hell yeah, you
Yeah.
rode awesome. And that's at the end of the day, Cloudy's riding sick at the moment. You know, Regan's riding really good, Gypsy's riding good, Metcalf, like there's good riders at the moment, and it's awesome. And for me, like at Manjimup, all that aside, I was, you know, I did a coaching day the next day and did some stuff with the kids. And I said to the club, hey, listen, if you guys interested in some gear, like I'll give you a massive discount, like give it to all the club dudes, like blah, blah. And that just, the response,
Yeah.
you know, they were just like, oh, that's, and the feeling of I've only taken from the sport,
Yeah.
you know, like that's realistically, my whole career has just been contracts and, you know,
how much money I can get,
Yeah.
paying my bonuses,
And
here's
it's-
the invoices.
and you just lose track of being like that 12-year-old kid now is riding a 450 and beating me, you know?
yeah,
Like, I missed all that, what they did. I didn't even know they won a Junior Aussie title, or I didn't know any of this stuff. You just get so lost in the process of just getting up, going for your cycle, doing your stretching, doing this, doing appearances, like
yeah,
doing your races. Like, so now I'm like, I'm working with the kids. I'm doing photo shoots. So we've got a little junior team. I'm doing photo shoots with them, like, and then working with clubs, whether it's doing coaching stuff, and then offering to give some gear to, you know, give back. Like that's,
yeah,
for me, that feeling, it's addictive. I was just like,
yeah,
this is insane. Like to finally, I don't know, I just like to hear that, like in people's voice where they're just like, oh really?
yeah.
Like that's
Like genuine appreciation
like-
and it's like surprise that you want
Yeah.
to give shit to them.
because, you know, the big brands, like I said, like the big brands are from overseas. They, for us, I remember when I raced for Ice One, like Auntie used to say, he's like, oh, you're from that small island. Is it called Madagascar? like we're just unknown. So that's what I want to, that's my sort of, my direction for the future. Like
Yeah,
I've created a gear company and I just want to concrete myself on the start line. Like,
yeah,
you know, man, money drops, whatever. I'll just be like, oh, well, maybe I can only ride once a week and I got to do this and this, but I'll be there, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I really want to do for the future is I guess be like your Stephen Gauls. Stephen
Yeah.
Gauls.
dude. Same with Ballard.
Yeah.
like they're just
Yeah,
out
Jeff.
there, man.
Yep.
Like, and they're just still doing. Man, honestly, like Jeff Ballard, the last few months that he's been in town, just spent so much time riding with him and hanging
Yeah.
around him, and I'm just like, man, I was 33 yesterday. He's 62.
Yeah.
I got 30 years of enjoying a motorcycle
Yeah.
just to get to that dude's level.
Yep.
Where he's still, you know what I mean? Like, he ain't
Yeah.
slowing down. Like, and I mean, it was pretty cool. So, Manjimup was pretty cool for me in the sense that, like, it was a random idea that started in this room, and we're like, yeah, we should go do it. And then we fucking actually did it. And then
Cool, eh?
you were there. Jats was there.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, Jats, I've known him since he was born. Like, I've known you since you were fucking 11.
Yeah.
And we're still doing the same shit.
Yeah.
Like, the same shit we were doing when Jats was on a 50. We're doing it there. But, like, we're all adults. Like, you got
Yeah.
a family. Like, I'm doing my thing. Jats is doing his thing. But, like, we're still there
Yeah.
doing the same shit. And that to me, like, I just appreciate that so much these days. And
Yeah.
even Tuesday at Coolum, you know, like Steve was
Yeah.
there, you know, like how fucking fun was that?
Filling your
Like,
bikes up.
oh yeah, like just talking shit too,
Yeah.
you know. And that to me, I think is so important.
Yeah.
Like you take everything out of it, and you know, you and your dad's relationship so solid
Yeah.
because of bikes. Still,
Oh, yeah.
you know, like that's the thing that like brings you together. And then after Coolum the other day, me and Maddie went to Dad's. We washed bikes, and then we sat
Yeah.
in the shed, and we were like drinking beers in the shed. Bikes,
Yeah.
you know, like it's the fucking bike that we're going to Cape York in September. Like all this shit, all the transmotos that we do, that it's because of the bike that all this other real dope shit happens. And you can kind of like make plans around the bike, and then just because you've made that plan to go there with a certain group of friends, man, you can just guarantee that you're going to have some epic fucking times with those people. And you're so right to say that, you know, if you lose sight of that, like even, you know, a dude like Cloudy, like he's right in the middle of his career, like peak of his career. He's never ridden better. He's never looked better on a bike. He's never had more success.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I hope that at the core of that, he can still be like, oh, how sick's a bike? Like just going and riding with your mates. And I think that was probably one of the coolest things about Manji as well, is that everyone was kind of getting along. Everyone was in the same pit, right? And it sort of felt like we're all just at this real sick club day, but then the riding was just at this fucking insane level.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny how you touch about that, because like touching back about the bikes, because when obviously I've been to a few hospitals in my time, but when you go in there or, you know, people who are outside of the sport, you know, they got educations, they got this, they got that, whatever. They kind of, you know, I got to a stage in my life where here in Australia, like it's different. In Europe, you know, you wear, like I was with Red Bull and you wear a Red Bull hat and you're just walking through and people are just, hey, come running over, photo.
Yeah,
what for?
yeah, you don't even know who I am.
What do you want a photo for? Oh, you're Red Bull. And I was just like, how do you, I've got a hat on.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you come to Australia and it's like, you go to order a coffee and they're like, oh, look at you, just a walking billboard.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean? Oh, you got a Red Bull shirt on and a hat. Bloody kook.
That's probably me that said that.
And like, you know, like in Europe, it's like when you ride a bike, when you go to a hospital, like I broke a collarbone in Latvia and they're just like, oh, you raced the GP on the weekend. Oh, we'll put you into the specialist hospital, like this top surgeon, like, you know, and they look after you. Like they actually respect what you do and that it's a thing. Like it's a high level sport in Europe. Like we go to races and there's 100,000 spectators. Like it's a real thing over there. Here we go and there's 5,000 spectators and that's massive.
Yeah.
That's a big day, you know, if there's that many people. And it's different. I got to a point in my life where we invested in some sheds and some different things and stuff. And when I'd go to places like to brokers or someone, you know, that had that sort of education, that look like, even I struggled like psychologists, like things like that. It's like, oh, what do you do for work? Oh man, I just like, I don't know. Like, I've really got, because as soon as you say, oh, I'm a professional motocross rider.
Yeah, they just discount it.
You know, like straight away they're like, oh, like kind of thing. And that was a point in my life where I was sort of like, I felt a bit like that. And I felt a little bit ashamed to tell people, you know, like they'd look down on me. And you go into a hospital and they straight away, oh yeah, no wonder you hurt yourself. Like, and everyone here in Australia looks at it as such a bad thing. And I'm like, well, realistically, I've raced since I was 5. I turned pro at 16, so I'm 30 now. So from 16, I rode at least 3 days a week. Yeah. You know, my first injury, you know, I broke my wrist falling out of a tree at my great-granddad's funeral, you know, off this big tree swing. I hit the bank and broke my arm. So I was like 5 then, or 6. Then I didn't break a bone till I was like 18 when I rode for Konski. Yeah. So I've done my collarbone 3 times. I broke my tib fib in my leg. I've broken some ribs, some fingers, and I did a wrist, bad wrist injury. they had my injuries. Like, it's not bad going.
Yeah.
Like, when you apparently do the most dangerous thing known to man 4 days a week. So, and like you say, I always say to them now, I'm like, oh, so when have you seen your children? What do you mean? So I'm just wondering, like, how often do you hang out with your children?
As a 30-year-old man. Yeah. That's the thing that trips me out. And most of a lot of my friends that aren't in our like immediate group that are always around, that they're just like, it's so crazy that you hang out with your parents so much.
Yeah.
Like, the last New Year's was what was crazy. I was getting hit up by everyone to come go to like a New Year's party. What are you doing for New Year's? Come to this party. Let's go here. And I was like, fuck, I'm going camping with my parents, eh?
Yeah.
I'm like fucking 30 years old going camping with my parents. And you look at so many people that they don't have that relationship. Yeah. And it's like, to be honest, like, me and my dad don't have that much in common. Like, if I wasn't racing motocross, like, it doesn't really, like, what else would we talk about? Yeah. And that's not a dig at anybody. Like, that's not a fucking problem with me and my old man or anything like that. But it's like, people change, you get busy, you go in these directions, but there's like this thing that keeps bringing me back. It's the fucking bike. Ronan's the same. Like, I've been out the track where him and his dad are fucking camping. You're on the track with your dad. Like, mum goes out to Fink and makes food for everybody at Fink. And, so it's like to have that thing that is like just constantly just brings people back together. Yeah.
And like for me, I did my school-based apprenticeship and then did my apprenticeship. I was just meant to work with Dad. And that's what he says. And he's like, and you just kept getting rides and getting better. And then I phone him up from Europe. I'm like, hey, Jill's going back for uni next year. Do you and mum want to come like travel around Europe for 12 months? Like, that's what motorbikes did for us. Like, mum hadn't been past Townsville before I was born. Like, that's 3-hour drive,
That's wild, eh?
Mum, I think it was something like, it was, honestly, we raced 19 rounds of the GPs plus international races. Like, it was something like...
Well, they went to the US as well.
Yeah, it was close to 30 different countries they went to, like, in 1 year. So, like, and that's only because of bikes. Because if I just grew up as a normal dude, and there's... My mates are smoking crack pipes and stuff, because they didn't do motorbikes. Like, that's the reality of it. So, that's what I tell a lot of people. Like, it is dangerous. It's hard. It's a tricky thing, but
it's the thing that people don't understand. Like, we live with so much risk.
Yeah.
Just daily. You know what I mean? Like, you can, like, even at the fucking intersection here, like, some chick was on her phone yesterday and drove straight through that fucking intersection and almost took the front end out of my car. Yeah. It's like, there's a dead right there. Yeah. If someone just T-bones you in a car. Yeah. And it's like, that's kind of, I mean, I don't want to get on the tangent, but it's like, that's one of the things that kind of pisses me off with COVID. It's like, oh, wait, so we're not allowed to die from this?
Yeah.
I can jump out of a plane. I can get fucked up at a bar and get behind the wheel of a car. Like, I can buy alcohol and I can fucking drink alcohol till I die. There's I've always said there's a million ways to die in the West. Yeah. Like, you can fucking die at any point of any day, fucking period. Yeah. And then people want to talk shit on, something like that. It's just like, yeah, you're right. It's fucking the risk versus reward for me. It's fucking the reward far outweighs the risk.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider that the risk is there whether you ride a bike or not.
Yeah. And honestly, what a bike's done for me is I'm 30 years old. Like, I have 2 days off a week from training. Every morning I monitor my resting heart rate.
Yeah.
Like, monitor my sleep.
Yeah.
Like, that's what this thing's doing.
Yeah.
It tells me my heart rate when I go running. Like,
fuck, I need to go buy one of them.
Yeah.
I've been saying I'm gonna do it forever.
But like I'm a 30-year-old dude, and I'm like, like, my health is a lot higher than most. You know, I'm not top, like, Olympic athletes, and there's other sports where they're just like
on a different level.
Yeah, they got programs around them, but me doing it myself without any outside sources, like, Jill, she created a training program for me, like, and we sort of have that going now, and like, it's like the thing that I've got around me, and it all stems back from bikes. And I kind of look at, if I just become a cabinet maker, and like the health of me, and you can honestly see why people are having heart attacks at 35 and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, geez, like, I feel so good. Like, I stretch during the week. I'm doing all this stuff, and simple things like, I drive along the highway and there's a car crash, and I'm just like, why? Why? I don't mean to be a dickhead, but why did you crash in a 110 zone in a 3-lane highway?
Yeah.
Honestly.
You don't have any skills.
Yeah, but there's no reason at all. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, now you've gone and hurt yourself.
Look what you've gone and done.
Like, honestly, like, focus, man.
Yeah.
Like, it comes back to, that comes back to what I do for work.
Yeah.
I got to focus, man. Like, focus is key, and focus comes from preparation. Good sleep. We're in bed at like 8:30. We're getting 8 hours of sleep. We're up in the morning. We're training. We feel good. We can react fast. We can do stuff. Like you say, old love's coming down. She don't do none of that stuff.
No.
She's delirious, and she's going through a crossroad. Like, focus, man. It's not that hard. You're going to hurt yourself.
Oh, fucking 100%. And the thing is too, like, I'm just going to move these because it's going to fuck our thumbnails for YouTube, mate.
Yeah, mate.
Sorry, mate. Maxis Racing, just...
I'm trying to get it in there.
Todd's literally bought every sponsor and laid it out in front of him. He's got like a Russian doll of fucking all his fucking logos and shit.
That's hilarious. I should just make like a pencil case, and just have all the logos.
Undo it all out. Have like a little toy husky. have some fucking teed up shit, hanging air freshener off all your products.
Set of fist gloves on.
Wait up. Hang on.
Oh, where'd this...
Chew on that.
I'm a bit disappointed that you haven't eaten this.
Oh, I haven't eaten it yet.
Why?
Hey, I haven't been hungry.
Are you... Oh, yeah.
I fucking wore your gear. Give me a break. Yeah, let me have a
I'll
look.
give you shit to test, eh?
Oh, give it here. You fucking... How about you just give me that whole carby, eh?
Yeah.
What are we running here? So this is T-Dub protein bars. He hasn't even talked about this.
No.
Elite protein recharge.
Far out.
Have a fucking chew real quick.
Yeah, we made them to go cycling with.
That's a good idea.
That'd be good when you roll.
Mm.
When you do... What's it called?
Jimju.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry for the eating the microphone, everybody. That's one of the things about, like...
Oh, and that wasn't planned. I don't know why. I don't even know where you got that from.
It was just there. That's one of the things about signing up for a thing like Manji or something like that. Like, man, Sammy put in a pretty fucking big effort before Manji. Like,
yeah.
he rode a lot. He rode more than me.
Yeah.
And that's the dude that he's chained to his desk.
Yeah.
He works like fuck.
Yeah.
But because he signed up to do something that was above his pay grade and well outside of his comfort zone,
So good, eh?
it got him up out of the desk, and it made him go ride. It made him focus more on his health. Like that, it made him do shit to prepare himself for something that was going to be very, very hard.
Yep.
What's the reward? He wouldn't know what he finished overall. I don't know what I finished overall, but we went and we like did a thing, and there's like a level of accountability for the months beforehand.
Yeah.
That you've got to hold yourself to. Same as Maddie, like Maddie went out and Chuzak, Coolum, I went out, and you just go and you sign up to this thing. You're like, all right, I've got a race at King of Capricorn in fucking a month's time.
Yeah.
I just got to go. I got to start eating good. I got to start sleeping good.
But what
for
else?
the average dude, for the average dude, it's like you can look at it and think this is pointless. Like, what's the fucking point of going to a race and getting who knows what? Not even caring what you get. But it's like, okay, you're looking at the wrong thing. Yeah. What you need to look at is like the month beforehand, where you're taking care of your sleep, you're eating better, you're drinking a lot of water, you're stretching more, you're making sure your bike's dialed in. There's just all these little things that they add up to just living a better life for the few months that you've got this event. And then that event gets done and you fucking sign up to do another one.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. Like, I can't wait to get back into competing in jiu-jitsu. Like, the Manjimup thing, like, I wanted to ride and get better for it, but it just doesn't scare me the way that jiu-jitsu does, you know, like jiu-jitsu.
Maybe you should ride Supercross.
Yeah, fuck that. But no one's trying to fucking hurt me in
I don't know, that triple down ramp, it likes hurt.
Yeah, but that's not a person. I don't have to be scared of a person. I can opt out of jumping a triple. I go, I'm just going to roll this.
But do that, get the whole shot and then roll it first lap. And let's see if you're not scared of all those people.
You know, yeah, but that's the...
Jumping on you.
Yeah, I was scared of that at Manji. I got a couple good starts. I was like, this is bad. I was like going to the edge of the track.
Oh, I remember in Supercross when like first lap you come out in like 10th, say, and you go up to like the triple, like indoors, and you go, right, and then old mate in front of you goes double, and you just go, oh. And you jump to the left, and this dude's jumping. Oh.
He's going to the left, and the other dude's going
this
left
dude's
to
coming
left.
back. Indoors, man. Oh. And then you land, you go, oh, berm.
And then you got to do another one, and then another one.
Oh, man.
Fuck that shit. But yeah, like that accountability of jiu-jitsu honestly has made me a way better person.
Yeah.
Like mentally a way stronger person. Because
honestly, I haven't noticed today.
Still a bitch.
Can you just point out those improvements? I just want to cross-check them.
It's all in here, bro. I'll fucking take you outside. I'll show you some improvements.
No, but you're just talking about a general person. I just want to cross-check the changes.
Look at me go, mate. Look at me fly.
I don't think the confidence has increased because you've always had good confidence.
Yeah, I've always been a fuckwit.
It hasn't settled you down.
I reckon.
You reckon?
Yeah, way more settled down. Just fucking cruising, mate. Just sit in the studio, talk to cool people.
Yeah.
But no, like it really does. Like there's like an anxiety.
Yeah.
Like, dude, the feeling I get when I enter a competition, like I sit there and I'm not good at jiu-jitsu. Like I've fucking won 3 state titles, 2 nationals.
Oh, righto, mate.
But like I'm actually fuck off, cunt. But like I'm
You're telling
actually,
the wrong person, eh?
But
I follow you on Instagram, man.
You ain't shit. But it's like objectively, like I am actually good at doing it.
Yeah.
But it still makes me scared as fuck to just enter the, like literally just to type in my name and press submit. And it's just like the scariest thing, and then it weighs on you over your head, and it's almost like.
But that'd make you train more, hey?
It does, man. And that's the thing. That's sort of the point I'm trying to get across is like, if you don't have something like that in your life, then maybe you should sign up for a transmoto.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? Like maybe you should sign up for something that's going to be like pretty gnarly. Get a mate to do it with as well. And like Rocky, this race in Rocky, like if you live in the Gold Coast or like if you live anywhere in Queensland, just go to Rockhampton and enter in a class, get a mate with you and just go, and it will be fucking hard. Like it'll be really hard. Take a sand tire. It'll be hard. It'll get super rough.
But the race is only 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Like it's hard.
But it's not
like,
life-ending.
Like last year I went and run a 50k trail running race with Ben.
That's
like,
a lot.
It was just a thing exactly like you. And this is what we're talking about. That's what people they've lost sight of is adventures and, you know,
well, there's got to be a point
things.
to something.
Yeah, but like...
For most people.
There's not enough projects and things getting done. Like, people just go to work and then they just watch what we do on social media. Yeah. Like, I don't go on social media unless I post something. Like, because what for? Like,
you got other shit you're doing.
Yeah, and that's, like you said, you've got your adventure. The cool thing is about the King of the Capricorn, and that's what most people get scared of, is they're like, oh, I'm not going to go race this. Yeah. Like, I'm no good. Like you spoke about. King of the Capricorn, Mike Ward, who runs the Yamaha team, he rides. Yeah. Like, the mechanic rides. Like, you know, the riders ride. Like, and that's what needs to happen, is there needs to be a pro class like what we are. So you crew can watch and throw stuff at us. Yeah. And then have, like, you know, your hobby classes and it's like you say, it's more about the journey of it all. Yeah. Like, that's driving
like
Rocky.
The day's probably gonna suck. Like when you're on the bike and you've got crazy arm pump and you realize how shit you are. That bit is probably still gonna be not that fun. But what will be fun is like it'll be fun at the very end, the last lap when you cross the finish line. You'll look back and you go, oh, that actually was fun. The moment it'll probably suck. But what will be fun is like the thinking about it before and then like planning to go ride with your mates. And then like even yesterday, dude, sickest day, me and Robbie went out to QMP. He's riding the 125 on the weekend. We're fucking with jetting and putting new pipe on. Like, does it sound... That's the juice, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's the shit that's actually fun. You know, like the achieving the thing at the end, like the goal of like being at the race. You're only there for like 8-10 hours, you know, or like camping for the weekend at Rocky. It's a pretty small window. But, oh, speaking of the grey man, he's fucking testing right now. But that, like, the thing that matters is like that the improvements you can make as a person.
Yeah.
Let's say we're a month out from King Capricorn. Everybody, just fucking sign up for the race. Come do what we're saying. And then in the month between, work on your bike, Google some fucking riding technique, get Ben Townley's method moto, study that shit. Like, and then it's a project, you know? Yeah. And that's probably the biggest thing that I reckon I've learned about myself over the last few years is I always have a project without even me noticing it. Like there's always something I'm doing.
Remember Black Ant?
That's a fucking big project. It'll make a comeback. Dude.
No, but it's true.
Yeah. Forever, dude.
Yeah,
I've just always had this random project that you work on. Like, I see my writing as a project. I see my jiu-jitsu as a project. I see the podcast as a project. I see my flexibility as a project. Like, I've just got these projects that I'm working on. Yeah. And I feel like I spend a lot less time in my head these days because I'm just like got this. It's real easy. Like, it's laid out there. I'm like, oh, well, when I finish doing this, like when I finish work today, I'll go straight to jiu-jitsu. And then I'll come home and then I've got stretching to do. And then I get up in the morning and I go back to jiu-jitsu. So there's just like project after project after project. And you end up living like a pretty fucking cool life when you jump in, like, you know, like you've got this timeline, like, okay, this is on in a few weeks and then this is on, and you're just constantly working on all these little projects. And then you look back and it's like, that's what your life is. Yeah. Like, your life is made up of all the shit that you're fucking working on.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the big, like, I just got to talk about it because the big thing for me is like talking about these projects and stuff, like a good one, we went and did a Can-Am project with Maddie. It was insane. Like, and the things that you remember is like, you know, man, we flew to Alice Springs, like burned around this river, like, you know, just all these things like happening. We had to, you know, work on this one and blah, blah, blah. Like, and that's what all these things are. Like, it's not about going racing Rocky. It's like driving to Rockhampton and, man, they have like the best T-bone steak ever. You know, just stuff like that. And the thing that I wanted to talk about was like the social media side of things. I listened to a podcast. I don't know his name. My phone's over there. But I should send it to you. Yeah. He talks about our generation. So the millenniums, I think we are.
Millennials.
Yeah, millennials.
Yeah.
One of those. So he's like, you know, he reckons that most of us are just got shit upbringings. Yes. It's like, you're being dealt a bad hand. And that's, you know, unfortunate for a lot of people. He's like, but you're being told that you do everything good. Like, it's all okay. Like you do no wrong. And that they bring out, you know, participation awards, like, you know, like that you went to the event.
Which I hope I'll be getting from Capricorn.
You know, but like he said, like our generation, and I was listening to this and I was just going, oh man, like this is insane. Like, it's true. Like, you know, we can have whatever we want now. Yeah. We can watch whatever we want right now. Like, everything's easy to get. Like, it's just, we're just like a disposable generation, you know? Yeah. Like, it's just like, and he talks about what I found really interesting was because I don't find myself going on social media that much. Like, my screen time's quite low and I don't care. Like, I'm just one of those dudes. I'm just like, whatever. Yeah. So he talks about the phone. He's like, good examples, like going to a meeting. He's like, now, these days, you wait outside to go into your meeting and people are straight on their phone. Yeah. You know, sit next to someone straight on their phone. He's like, whereas before this stuff, you'd sit there and you'd be like, hey man.
Yeah, you going? Where are you from?
What's going on? Yeah. Like, oh man, my dad's, you know, he's been building all these houses, he's been super busy. Oh, really? Like, oh, my dad, he runs solar panels, or I'm a solar panel dude, or, just business. And he talks about like sitting in a cafe and he's like, your wife or your mate, they get up and go to the toilet. I'm just going for a piss. You can't just sit there for 2 minutes.
No.
Like, you got to look at your phone. And he's like, straight away, you lose that thought pattern of just looking around and being like daydreaming, seeing a car drive past and just be like, man, I should just import cars. Like, progression and like building and, whatever's in your brain. If you like cars and a Lamborghini goes past and be like, man, I wonder how I can get one of them. And I should really look into that. Like just importing from America. And next minute you got a Lamborghini importing business, from that thought pattern. That's gone. Like you said, all that's gone now. And I was like, you know what? It's interesting. He talks about, and I just noticed, I wanted to bring it up because he goes, if you go into, I'll use your phone, if you go into a meeting and you put your phone up like that, he's like, that just shows that you're just not interested.
Yeah.
Because it's a fact. You just are always like, and I've been picking up on it now.
Yeah.
And that's like, I left my phone. Now I leave it over there. He's like, don't even take your phone. Like when you sleep, don't even put your phone in your room. Like just take it away. I'm a dude that I use social media I got to a point where I used it all the time. Yeah. I mean, I sit on the toilet and my legs would go numb. You've had it. Everyone's had it. Yeah. Looking at what?
Yeah.
Who, like, honestly, at what? Like, so.
Pussy.
That's so good. But, so anyway, I
just do it so I know the time of the podcast, by the way. But,
but I just noticed, like, Robbie, and it's always, you just
it
like. It
steers where you go. Yeah. 100%.
And so I listened to this podcast anyway, and I was just like, oh, yeah. Oh, I don't fit into that. Like, my parents, like we spoke about, some are different. But he's like, I meet these really high achieving, just graduated out of school, like, young, awesome people. And they've been in their job for 8 months and he talks to them. How's everything going? I'm going to quit. And he's like, why? Well, I'm just not making a difference. And he's like, you've been there for this takes like years. And he's like, that's what our generation's lost is there's no commitment. There's no commitment to work and satisfaction, and there's no commitment to relationships. Because like he said, all that's gone now. Like in my time, when I started dating Jill, we used to train together. She was on the Australian cycling team. She raced overseas and stuff, and that's what drew me to her. And we used to cycle, and we'd be like, get on the front, and I'd be like, looking over, it's cold this morning, eh?
Yeah.
Oh man, I need to blow me nose, eh? Car with all these people behind me, like, and that awkwardness, and then like, hey, like you should come watch us ride Supercross. I'll take you for lunch, and she come over and like watched me train Supercross, and I took her to the lake and got lunch, and like that's gone. You know, like he talks about, he's like, you just just swipe DMs, left. Like it's really sad, man. It's sad because I've missed that. You've missed that. Like we're in the part where it's like
we were like the first generation to have it.
Yeah, they brought it in.
Well, I look at dude, like Ronan, like when would you have got Instagram? How old do you reckon you would have been when you first went on Instagram?
Would have been 13.
Yeah, see, that's so heavy, dude.
See,
like, I had a phone when I was like 15.
Yep.
But I didn't get an iPhone. Like, I don't even remember the first iPhone that I had. I definitely had one of the first iPhones.
Yep.
But yeah, it was not. I remember even like 2013, 14. Like I was still living in America, so I'd done all of my filming and stuff in Australia and everything. It wasn't until like my second year working with the JDR team that I posted on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I'd done so much crazy shit in my life no one fucking knew about.
Yeah.
Just because there wasn't a platform out there, and I didn't really put much shit on Facebook or whatever. Yeah. But it's like different generation.
Yeah, but it's like going back like to how it just controls you. So anyway, I just went, when I get home, like like I'll get home at 5. I just go put it up in the bathroom, and I kid you not, I'll be like downstairs, and then I'll just be like, I should
check my phone. Yeah.
Like, I get this feeling like, and I'm a dude that don't use it that much, and I'm like, I wonder why. Like, and I wonder why I'm having this feeling. It's not like a thing where I'm like, I should go check if this person texts me, or I should check this, or
it's just a compulsion.
Or whatever. I'm just like, this is really bad.
Yeah.
Bad for me. Like, it's insane. So I've been like, I just look at how much time I waste because I don't have time anymore. Like, you know, if I post something, it needs to be about my gear. It needs to be about my racing. It needs to be about my coaching. You know, it needs to be about all these things. I don't have time to just scroll through stuff and look at stuff. Like, and it's been really interesting. Like, and I thought I'd bring it up as a topic, especially as an athlete. Like there's all that time lost as an athlete. Because I know when I was younger, we drive so much. We drive 2 hours drive 2 hours back. I'd be driving the track and I'd just be like, man, like,
you're in your head thinking about productive shit.
I need to carry more speed in and through the turns. Like, today, I'm going to click up a gear and I'm just going to let that bitch roll. Yeah. Like, I'm just going to push so hard. I'm just going to work on corners, you know?
Yeah.
Well, most people don't get that because
they're scrolling on the way to the track.
Yeah, but they don't, you know, they don't even drive. Like, I mean, like normal humans.
Yeah.
So they just scrolling all day long. Like, they sit on the train, scroll, like this and that.
Yeah.
And that's something that I see a lot of the young kids doing. Like, I've realized, because I'm in a different era, but I've realized and understood what this is for. Like, for me as an athlete, this is a tool to get me sponsors and to make me money. That's the end of the story. I can go to outside sponsors and I can be like, hey guys, do you just want to sponsor me? Put your logo here, here, and here. I'll do this many posts, you know, per month. Let's do some video projects. If you've got budget, I've got videographers. Like, I use it as a tool.
Yeah.
But then I see the younger generation, they just do nothing, man.
Yeah.
And they're meant to be the ninjas on it. They can make videos and do all this shit on the phone, but they don't use it.
Yeah.
And that's been my biggest focus at the moment, is trying to utilize technology without wasting my time.
Yeah.
Like, and it's I thought I'd bring it up because it's super interesting, and I want to see if you've felt that before. Or
oh, dude, it's been huge. Like, and so even I guess like a different lane to that, right? So like, I've been going fucking ham on the meditation shit for a couple years now.
Yeah.
Dude, your brain is a fucking mess. Just like the average person's brain. And like that same way where you're like, oh, I got that compulsion to get my phone.
Yeah.
Every thought that you have, you don't know where it come from.
Yeah. But
we connect to it instantly. So like for that phone example, so you'll get the thought, and it's a really good place to start because it's a fucking such an ingrained habit.
Yep.
And now I've stopped trying to reach for my phone when I get that feeling, right? But you can be sitting there and it's just like you've got no idea where it comes from. Yeah. And then so you get the thought, and then there's like it appears in your brain, which you didn't know where it come from, because and this, you just check this yourself. So like you can understand it in the way that I can explain it, and then you just can check for yourself by closing your eyes for a few seconds. You will have fucking no idea what comes into your mind. Yeah. Like literally you have no idea. And then the next step is watch for when something pops into your head. This is a perfect example, and it pops into your head, and then instantly it's like you're like glued to that thought.
Yeah.
So, and then it just drives an action with feels like no freedom around that. It's just something that you've done.
Yeah.
And then over time, if you use that as like, that's like your focus of this kind of thought, then you try and have the thought, you don't have to try and have the thought. You'll get the thought. But then once you get the thought, try and have distance from it and just see it as a thought. Mm-hmm. And then be like, oh, that's that thought to get my phone. I'm not going to connect to that instantly. Because that's what's happening with thoughts, right? Like when you can, if you like really look for it, if you get lost in a train of thought, and this is why you meditate, because you kind of can't help but get lost in thought. People get real frustrated when they're trying to meditate, because the most common thing is like, I can't meditate. I just can't stop thinking. My brain's too active.
Yeah.
That's the point. You're supposed to watch the activity, and you look for the activity, and then you look at it long enough to realize that you actually have no control over it. And then once you do that, and then you just let go, and then you start to play with the distance between your thoughts, because there'll be thoughts that come into my head, and then and the phone, perfect, like thought, bang, look at your phone, bang, there it is. Fuck, I did it again. There's no distance away from it.
Yep.
And then so that's sort of this game that you play, and you just play it over and over and over. And then, because it becomes really handy when you're in a bad mood.
Yep.
Or when you think like, I fucking hate that cunt. And then you're like, oh, I don't need to connect to that.
Yeah.
That's just that's another thing that is like popped up, and I'm instantly connected to it.
Yep.
But it's like, if you had to ask me 2 seconds before, like, hey, do you want to think about that dude you hate? I'd be like, no, I don't want to think about that fucking idiot. Like, why would I want to think about that dude I hate? That's just going to put me in a bad mood. And then you're like, oh, but so that's what happens, is you have a thought, and then you think that thought, and you get connected to it, and then you're in a bad mood. So it's like, what you're saying is so fucking true. But you can take what you just said about the phone to everything in your life.
Yeah.
You want to think that you get this, like, a great example of this, I do it with my fucking housemate.
Yep.
Cunt drives me insane sometimes. Fucking love him, but drives me insane. And then it's like, there'll be something that'll happen that's just fucking annoying. And I'm like, okay, do you really want to connect to this? Do you really want to? Because it's like, you can stand it, like, say there's no hot water in the shower, and you're in the shower. You're watching a fucking movie in your head about how pissed off you are about there being, you know what I mean? And it's like, that's you connecting to this thing.
Yeah.
And there's this dialogue that's like going in your head, and you're spinning around, and you're just like, you're looking at nothing.
Yeah.
Like, there's this whole world that you're in. Like, if you looked around the room of the shower, like, fuck, there's like this little shower head, and then there's like 2 slits for like grip. Wonder what if, you know what I mean? And then there's like, oh, I've got this here. There's like this silicone around the edges. This is a tile pat. There's so much shit that's just right in front of you in any single moment. And then you get so lost in your own thoughts that it's almost like, you know, when you're looking at a bug hits your mirror of a car.
Yeah.
And you can like focus on the bug.
Yep.
And the whole world's still out there.
Yeah.
But you're just looking at this, and you actually lose complete focus and lose sight of like where you are, like what everything looks like.
Yeah.
That's what's happening when you're thinking. When you're like really connected to thought, you've shifted from like being in the world to then looking at the bug on the windscreen.
Yeah.
And it's so closed off, and you're so connected to it. And then it takes something else. It takes another thought to snap you out of that, or the dog licks your leg, and then you bang, and then you get brought back, and you've stopped looking at the windscreen and the bug, and then you can see the vista again. So that's what's happening. Like, and when you sit and meditate, so you can be sitting with your eyes closed, and then you've like, okay, I'm trying to meditate. You can't think. You just got to be blank. And then you're just like, fuck. Oh man, Coolum was so rough. And then you're gone, and when you're in the space of meditation, and you're like, everything's dark and your eyes are closed, you're watching a movie.
Yeah.
Like, your thoughts are a movie. They might not be as clear as this setting in terms of like visually what you're seeing, but fuck, man, I've watched myself do jiu-jitsu. I've watched myself have sex. You know, like you can fucking watch a movie just by connecting to those thoughts.
Yeah, but hey, that was a good explanation that you said about being in the shower, because that's exactly what this podcast talks about. He mentions that because of social media, everyone sees, you know, oh man, Jace is doing this and he's doing that, like. You know, you can have the most depressed person in the universe and they just look happy as Larry.
Yeah.
And he's like, so what that's doing to our generation is all of us are being told that we're sick and this, and you can have whatever you want.
Yeah.
That we lose feeling. And I know this. I don't know if you've experienced this, but you lose sight. He talks about it's just going to be, our generation's going to be something where it's going to be like how's work? yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, how's your family?
Yeah, good.
They're good.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like it's just we're just gonna be a generation that just like goes through the motions in life.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel that, because when he said that, I was like, because at first I'm like, nah, like, you know, that's not me. Like, that's all these other crew. Like, you know.
Yeah.
But everything he touches on, I'm like, wow. Like, for me, I've gone through life, and when I stood on top of the podium at Madura at the World Championship, I got third. I got on the podium. I walked up there, and the first thing I thought, like, I just still remember just looking over like this and seeing Fevra and just being like, man, I just need to do more to win this.
Yeah.
You know? But in actual fact, if I won that race, I'd be up there going,
I got to win the next race. Yeah.
I need to win like 8 or 9 championships like Crowley.
Yeah.
Like, it's sad, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And that, I kind of picked up on it before this, but this really hit the nail on the head, was 2019. I was like, I'm the dude that wins a race and goes over the finish lines just like, and cruises back.
Yeah.
And I've got this because I feel I want that humbleness. I hate people talking about me, like when they come over and they're like, oh man, that's sick. And I just be like, fuck, man, like Gypsy rode awesome. Like, just happened that I passed him or whatever. Like, you know, I am like that. I never think like that's just how I've been brought up. But then after listening to this, I'm like, oh wow, I am in this mode where it's just like, I win a race and I'm just like, yeah, sick. And I said to Jill, I was just like, because I see people, they win Olympics, they win, you know, their first big race, they do all this sort of stuff, and they start crying, man.
Yeah.
And I just look at it and I go, I wish I felt that.
Yeah.
I've won, like, for me, winning an Australian MX
overall,
national, but
yeah.
even a round, like for the day, like I was 18, man. I like first year on 450, and I go beat everyone.
Yeah.
And I just get up there and I'm just like, woo, woo, like, you know, not like feeling, same in Madura. And I was like, it's insane. And then after listening to this podcast, I'm like, wow, this is not real cool.
Well, it's culture, man. Like it's, so in Buddhism, they call it striving.
Yeah.
So, and it's something that I've had to be so careful of. And like, man, honestly, like I put so much effort into this framework of thinking about like disconnecting from the self, seeing through the thoughts in my head and feeling connected to those thoughts. And like I'm at a point, I understand I don't choose my thoughts.
Yeah.
I understand that I'm not my thoughts. I can see, I've experienced selflessness, like no self, just sitting in my room, time doesn't exist, nothing. And it's just, you're gone. I've experienced that. Like that's kind of what you are before the thinking machine starts going. So
it's like a baby, really.
Yeah. And that's why when I was with you and Macy and Jill the other day at breakfast, I was like, man, that's so special. Like I was tearing up and I felt like insane inside because I'm looking at this baby with like, I know what she's going through in a sense because I try to get there. Yeah. But I'm like, no language. So when you've got a kid that's
what you touched on where.
Yeah. There's no voice in her head.
Yeah.
She doesn't have language.
Yeah.
So like in our heads, that voice and like, I don't have enough of this. I've got to do this. If I only had this, I'd be happy. Like there's a voice, right? And so every human has a drive. It's just like, this is biology. So like that voice in our head, we think that it's like this unchanging me that's like the world happens to me. I'm inside here, inside behind my head looking out at the world. Yeah. And it's like, it's me versus them almost kind of thing. Or this person has more than me. It's that is just this process that's going on in your brain to like help you get through life. Because you have to do shit. And we've got language. That language lets me communicate with you. I'm like, hey, Todd, if you go over there and I go over there, let's fucking go and we'll spear this pig or deer. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's there for a reason. And it's not like you go like, oh, that's pointless. You can't be that. You've got to not be. There's no self. You don't take it to that extreme where you deny its existence completely. But it's like exactly what you said about social media. It's like a tool that you can use. And as soon as the voice in your head starts being like, fuck, I'm so fucking shit. Like, I'm never going to be able to get this. That's a process that's in your brain that was designed to help you.
Yep.
That is now hurting you. And that's what this whole thing is about. It's like having the awareness that as soon as these thoughts come into your brain that are just a product of your environment, like you're in a certain point in space and time, these things are happening around you, they're going to deliver you these thoughts based on everything else that you've kind of been through.
Yep.
But then when you take those that conversation in your head and you just take it so personal and you connect with it so much and you're like, I can't do this, man. Like, I'm fucking going nowhere. My life's fucking shit. That's the process in your brain that was designed to help you get through life is now hurting you. Yeah. And you've got it, like, there's a way to kind of see through that. But when you go to like that example with Macy, man, she's got no voice in her head. Yeah. She's got no doubt. She's got no way. I mean, I'm sure that process of the self and being a person has started.
Yep.
And it's something that would develop over I think there's like 3 or 4 when a baby there's a point where the baby is conscious that it's a person in the world and it starts developing that. But man, for the first few years, it's just fucking bliss.
Yeah.
It's just pure experience. And you can watch that in like, I look for it a lot in my dog as well.
Yeah.
Where like sometimes he gets like anxious in the car and he's like real anxious and then I feel anxious.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, fuck, this poor cunt is going through it, you know? Like he's just chill out, man. Everything's going to be fine. But I'm thinking that he's got a self in his... Yep. Like I'm thinking that he's having a conversation with himself about how bad the car ride is. That's not the case. As soon as the door opens, he's fine. Because it's just like one experience of being alive, like blending into another. And that's like Macy. She's just got this experience of being alive. There's no thoughts around it. There's no like, oh, that's my dad, that's my mum, like they're real cool, like I'm real hungry. There's just nothing. It's just like one experience to another. There's no way she can label that experience. And it's just like, here's this like aware human that is just having an experience. And then that doesn't really, it changes because you get language and you get these tools and then you become a person that has to do something in the world. Like you have to do things to survive. There's no way around it. So that does develop. But in terms of like that aware person that you are, where like you can just be experiencing something without the voices and without all the kind of the shit that goes with it and the concepts that you kind of attach around it. You can be that right now. And that's like a freeing place to be. And then you're like, you disconnect, you be there, and then you just wait. Like for me, man, I've had a couple weeks ago where I was like fucking stressed all week, and I really struggled harder than I have in a long time to cut through that bullshit. And I just kept going back, and I just spent this whole week just it's not the way that it feels right now. It's not the way that it kind of appears right now. And you just can get back to that experience, and then when you do sort of drop back to that place, then I'm just like, all right, just wait for a good thought.
Yeah.
I'm not in control of them. You know, I want to be in a good mood. I'm not.
Yeah.
If I had some control over my mood, I'd just be in a good mood. I just wouldn't let this shit carry on. But that's not how it works. So then we've got that awareness, and you just like chill. You're like, at some point it'll get better. I'll wait for some fucking good thoughts. I'll connect with them, and then I'll move on, you know. But yeah, it's such a fucking that presence of just being fucking, oh, this is amazing. Like I'm just alive.
Yeah.
Like I'm just sitting here, and one of the things like sunsets, man, for me now. A good sunset, whew, and you just get rid of that fucking voice, and you just like fully experience that thing.
Well, it's hard because I used to do a fair bit of meditation. Like I did a lot of the Headspace app.
Yeah.
So when I was in Europe, with Red Bull, they used to get me to do a lot because I fidget, like even sitting here, like I just can't sit still.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, you need to rest. Like, so they had me on it. And when I first moved to Burleigh, I used to go down, I'd do my stretching, then I'd just sit there and it's so hard to just be like, oh man, everyone's looking at me.
Yeah.
They're all like, oh, look at this weirdo. Like, you know, it's really difficult to just let go and just do your own thing. And that really comes back to just like, I don't know. I really look at our era. Well, I just feel like Ronan's era, you know, like I just go, man, it's just so,
it's going to be hard if you're going to stay
insane.
that connected.
Like I've got Macy now and I look and I'm like, you know, one of the riders' mums, she was like, oh, like our daughter come back and she's like 12 and she's like, oh, mum, do you send nude photos to people? I was just like, this is not a good thing, hey?
Yeah.
Like, the thing is like what phones give off. So, like gambling, you know, it gives off a chemical in your body that is addictive, that feels good, you know, like these things, alcohol, you know, drugs, obviously. These different things give off a chemical in our brain, and that's what makes us want to do it. Like gambling's fine, but when you do too much, it's not real good. And that's what social media is doing. Like we go on there and look at stuff and we get a like, and it lets off that same chemical as what drugs do. But yet alcohol is, we can't touch alcohol till we're 18 for a reason. You're so right. But yet
phones you can.
But yet my 8-year-old daughter, I can give her a Facebook account. But yet that's letting off the same chemicals, that addictive chemicals that alcohol and drugs and gambling give off. And I'm like, I'm petrified. I'm like, I don't know how to handle this, because then it's like, I kind of grew up with it. My parents didn't let me have a phone. They didn't let me have a Game Boy. Like, you know, I've told a story where I saved up and I bought a Game Boy and hid it from Dad, and then Dad come home, and when he seen me playing it, this is like months after, he just went and played it in the shower. Said, boy, is this thing not waterproof? You know, I was devastated. Best thing ever. Best thing he could have ever done. And he knew that. I didn't know that because I didn't know. And I just thought that's not cool. But that sort of taught me a good life lesson that, you know, also that you can work like hell and you're going to get knocked down. I lost my Game Boy, man. Like, you know, mum took me in, like mum was always on my side, but I was sheltered from that stuff. And I'm like, but this day and age, it's like, no, you need to have an iPad because they need it at school. Well, why don't they have a book? Like, screw the iPads and all the stuff. Like, so it's a bit of a catchy spot. Like, I'm interested to see what the future brings, like whether these people are, because I've heard a lot about it, about the social media, about the phones, like this side of things. And I feel it as an athlete. Like, I've already been told that I shouldn't have my phone in my bedroom when I sleep. It disrupts sleep patterns, like all this sort of stuff. And I'm starting to realize, you know, like little things like having it on the table. Like, you know, we go out to dinner with Jill and you sit there and you're like, oh man, look at these dudes like texting. They're on a date with their missus and they're texting each other. But yet I've got my phone sitting there being like, well, this,
waiting for it to light up.
Like Jill, we're there on a nice dinner and I'm really good because I'm not texting anyone, but you know, I'm just
still looking at
watching all the time.
So
we went out to Alice Springs. We had no phone reception for 3 days. Didn't hurt my life one little bit. Didn't even notice. And that's sort of what I kind of realized. And so that's like a big thing that I'm trying to work on, is just playing with that side of it, because most people just write it off like,
they just don't think about it.
Oh man, I need my phone. I got to tell the time. Like, oh, it's got a calculator on it. I use it for work, man. It's got like this leveling app where I can like level all the walls up.
Levels do that too, bro.
So I think it's like really super interesting, because it's like gonna be our biggest challenge. Like, it's honestly one of my biggest things, because it is like we need it. And because I'm like, oh man, it's like the best camera at the moment.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I can take photos for socials and stuff.
Yeah,
Doesn't
any
matter.
excuse. What do they call it? The justification of an addict. I
Yeah.
think is like the thing that I've been thinking about a lot too lately, and it's not so much around the phone as much as it's around drugs, because like obviously I smoke fucking weed, like everybody knows
Yeah.
that at this point, and I always, I'm always thinking about it.
Yeah,
And
but
like,
you don't do it that much, and it's all right. Like,
no, but exactly, yeah. Like I am always thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
And the thing, because again, it's like I only want to use shit in my life as a tool. I never want stuff to become a thing that I have to lean on.
Yeah.
You know, like it's never like a justification. And yeah, you get that like the fucking conversation of an addict, the way that people can justify their phone. You can justify anything, man.
yeah,
But to me, it's like I think what people do, this is my own personal opinion, whether it's like alcohol or social media, anything that you compulsively do, I think it's about control. Because you can't control the world, but you can control how you feel
yeah,
with certain things. And so it's like when you smoke weed, you know exactly how you're going to feel. So no matter what's going on in the outside world that's out of your control, you can control that. So you go there. Or with gambling, you know exactly how you're going to feel when you place a bet. So
Yeah.
when you want control, when you feel like you haven't got control of what's going on, and again, this comes back to that self, that feeling that you're this person in there that's like the one that controls the way that you think, and you're the fucking controller of everything. When you get attached to that and you try and find control in all of these places, and you can control how you feel. Like you smoke weed, you're going to feel a certain way, and you're
Yeah.
going to know how you feel. When you go for a run, you're going to know how you feel at the end of a run. When you go on social media, and dude, like, I don't really post much personally on social media. I've like really fucking clipped that for the most part. And I've found myself, dude, like I know, like, you know, my relationship situation, shit like that. When I'm like kind of feeling a bit low and like down, you know what I want to do? I want to post a photo.
yeah,
Fucking makes you feel good.
yeah. That's exactly that.
I fucking try to avoid that.
Yeah.
Because that's control.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, man, I'm not really in control of how I feel right now. Like I feel fucking shit. I feel pretty low, and no amount of thinking about feeling good's making me feel good. So I got to do something else. I got to do something that's outside of me to make me feel good. Fuck, posting a photo of me riding where I look good. Like there's going to be a bunch of cool people that comment on that or DM me being like, dude, you're riding so good, you know?
Yeah.
Like you can fucking see it. So I think if you start thinking about in that line of like, what am I trying to control? Am I trying to control the way I feel by smoking weed or fucking jerking off? You know, like you know how you're gonna feel. It's like, fuck, I had a shit day. Man, look up Pornhub, eh? Like find some bitch on anal. Like, I know exactly how I feel watching that. It's all about that feeling of control. And I think that when you when I notice that I'm like, oh, you wanna feel better. You wanna control the way that you feel.
Yeah.
A lot of times nowadays I'm really trying to go against that and be like, how about you just be okay with right now and with what you feel. Don't try and change this for something else, because they're the fucking traps, you know. And like I think that's how you do get addicted to porn, or you get addicted to fucking weed, or you get addicted to gambling, or you get addicted to fucking running, or you, like anything that you do. And I think that's why we all fucking love motocross.
Yeah.
You know how you're going to feel. You know that you go riding, you're going to get on the track, and that voice in your head's going to go away for like periodically.
Yeah.
And you know, man, you're going to feel good even if you don't ride good. Like you're going to get on the bike, you've got the feeling that you expected, and then you go back about your day.
Yeah. And that, you know, what's really interesting is I've only ever, you know, ridden motocross, and it's like you go ride 30 minutes at a time or whatever, and you do 2 hours of riding for the day.
Yeah.
And there's not one voice in your head. Like, you know, the voice in your head is like, oh man, like
productive.
You should carry more speed. Like it's 100% focused.
Yeah.
Well, now that I'm doing off-road, I've been doing like 6-hour rides, like like training, and it's the same thing, man. It's crazy that you can go for 6 hours and not be like cruising along a fire trail and just be like, man, like imagine if there was like this dude trying to drive like a Lamborghini up here or something. Like not even any weird thoughts. No. Like it's just 100% like, oh man, my forks feel like this. I should really phone Paul up at the end and like we should like, and thinking about things like productive things. Like that's the only way that my brain starts to veer off is I'm on fire trail and I feel something and be like, oh man, I reckon we could like improve here, or it's insane. Yeah. There's nothing else. Yeah. Try and drive your car for 6 hours and not think about some weird thing. Yeah.
Well, that's why we're so. I mean, I've been thinking about. It's actually funny. I've been going through looking at some old clips, and I've been obsessed with this thinking about like, why the fuck do we ride? Like, why do we do this? Because man, like my whole life, I've been obsessed with riding. Yeah. Like, and I'm not even good. Like, it's just not even that. Like, for me, it's a struggle, you know? Like, it's a hard thing for me to do. Obsessed. Yeah. Just desperate to go ride. And I remember the most that I've wanted to ride in my life was when I was the most unhappy. Yeah. So, like, I reckon when I was like 17, 18, working for like Kawasaki and Cairns Honda and like that era, and like trying to do the t-shirts and like most unhappy I've ever been in my entire life. Yeah. And all I wanted to do was ride. Yeah. Because I wanted to fucking escape it, man. I wanted to get away from my own life. And not my life. I wanted to get away from the voice in my head. Yeah. I was over that fucking voice. And some people, they want to get away from that voice and they'll do drugs and they'll like party, go on fucking 3-day benders where you're not really thinking about too much. You're just fucking doing drugs, like carrying on and just you're in the fucking in that zone, you know. Yeah. But then that voice is gone out of your head for a while when you're in that state. Like all of the things that we're drawn to with action sports is that feeling, and I just don't think people are that aware of it. And like I wasn't, man. Like I was the crazy thing, man. So like I posted a segment on YouTube the other day of the podcast with Matto. Yeah. And we were talking about like that voice going quiet. I've been thinking about this shit for so long, and it wasn't until I hit the I guess the neuroscience side of like the self, and then meshing that with like Eastern philosophy and Eastern spirituality, where I'm like, oh, there it is. Yep. 2,600 years is how long Buddhists have been teaching this exact shit that we're talking about.
Well, I'm interested in the Buddhist
2,600 years.
Because it's interesting. I feel like, touching back on what you spoke about, where people just don't realise, the number one people who don't realise is professional motocross racers. They're the ones who don't realise.
Don't realise what?
About what our sport does, you know? Yeah. Like, for example, a good one would probably be like Ken Roxon, you know? Because we've only ever done this, you know? And now COVID's hit. I'm doing other lives now. Like and I did it before racing as well. Like I did the working full time and the whole thing. So I've got that appreciation.
15 years ago.
Yeah, but I've got that. So when I feel that feeling you talk about, I'm just like, what are you talking about, man? I'm not building someone's kitchen. Yeah. Like I'm riding a factory bike.
All right, you just fucking hit on the most important point of it all. Gratitude.
Yeah, and that's, so for me, I've got that, and that's what I'm thankful for. But I see it with these dudes that leave the sport. Like they just, like you say, money driven. We don't get paid enough, blah, blah, and off they go. And you're like, that's interesting, because I ride for Husqvarna, like the factory team. So I'm the motocross guy and the off-road guy. There's one of those factory bikes, one factory motocross bike and one factory off-road bike. I get to ride it. That's sick. Like, you know, but what we don't realize is we ride 4 days a week. I know that when I go ride, my brain goes I've got so much going on at the moment, you know, like I explained, I'm cruising along and then it'll be like, you know, China's hit me up about gear stuff. Like this person hit me up about this. I'm getting t-shirts printed. Like, you know, some dude wants a top end reboot. Like there's heaps of stuff going on. Get on my bike. Gone. I get to focus. Like, and I've been doing, like you said, I've been really, like, to tell you the truth, at Maitland, like I rode terribly. Like there were things that happen, and like that were kind of uncontrollable for me. Actually, everything's controllable, but leading into it, for me, I wasn't the best prepared mentally, because at the end of the day, I know how to ride a bike. I've ridden it for years, but unfortunately, I train my ass off. That brings confidence, and I perform.
Yeah, expectations.
You know?
Yeah.
That's how I ride good. Whenever anyone says, man, like 2013, like before, you know, the first 3 rounds, like I was winning race by 20 seconds. Like it was no dramas before I broke my collarbone. I turn up confident because I'm just like, man, there's nothing more I can do.
Yeah.
And that's something that's challenging for me is,
now you're in a place where you can't do everything. That
yeah,
you can
like
do,
I turn up the start line and that little bit of like,
doubt.
man, like that doubt.
That voice is there
You know?
because you haven't done all of the work that you know you could have done.
Yeah,
There's
well,
like stones unturned, and
yeah.
then that voice gets into your
But
head.
then you've got dudes like Billy McKenzie that I've raced a lot of my pro career, who's one of the best dudes in the world, and he wouldn't train, but he is so mentally strong that he would just turn up. He knew the art. So the brain is so powerful in that way, and everyone is different. You know, they have different programs, they work differently, and that's a challenge that I'm working with at the moment, is just trying to prepare myself mentally, because I've done for so many years on being a workhorse, that's how I prepared myself. That,
yeah,
you know, times are changing, things are evolving, you know, like it's not, I need to enjoy what I do. Like I need to go to the track and push hard, and I need to suck everything I can out, and then I need to go and I need to work on other things, you know, like the days for me, you know, it's just the truth. Like
yeah,
the days of me of being a full-time professional athlete are kind of gone. Like you said, Cloudy's at his peak. And that's,
and it's not like he can't keep going up. It's just like right now, he's literally, his graph could still be going up, but he's fucking as high as he's ever been.
But for him,
yeah,
he's, you know, it's him and his missus, and he goes cycling, he goes running, he goes to the gym, and he goes motorbike riding, and he flies the races, and he does some commitments for Yamaha. That is it. Like he is at the peak because of that, you know?
Yeah.
And that's where he's able to do that. But as you get older, things happen, and you want to concrete yourself. Like me, I want to be more involved in the motocross community. And like we spoke about before, like I get really upset with why we're not getting the people at the races. Like, why is this? And like, there needs to be, like, there's so many people out there. There's Transmotos where, you know, they sell out like this, and crew just come because it's not a race, you know. Well, Rockhampton, come to Rockhampton, man.
Do the same shit.
Do the same thing, or come and fly to Canberra and watch the MX Nationals and do something like. And that's like, people kind of say, like back in the day, Mike Lamman used to say, like at Mr. Motocross, there'd be like 3 deep, like around the whole track, like just people everywhere. It's because they didn't have their stupid phones. Like,
yeah, there wasn't so much other shit going on. Wait, I'm gonna piss real quick. I'm about to piss my pants.
Yeah.
I'm fidgeting. I'm like, fuck. Sorry, mate. I fucking couldn't hold it.
That's all right.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. Like it's interesting to hear you talk about some of that shit, eh?
Oh, it's different. Like, it's one, like, talk motor all the time, and hey, we can talk about bike setup and stuff like that because crew love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've just been super interested in the brain at the moment. Like, obviously you're talking about Buddhism and like meditation and stuff, and I've touched on heaps of that, and this day and age, like, there's not much time where, like we spoke about, where you just sit there and you just reflect on things. And that's what I really did after Maitland, is I just got home and I was just like, Jill, like, we need to go in the office and we need to have a chat.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because at the end of the day, like, Jill runs all my program. Like, she's the one behind what I'm up to. Like, it's really cool. So sort of sat down, wrote a heap of shit down, and I was just like, this and this, like, you know, I'm going to races, I'm like, it's all my phone, like, I'm on the phone, I'm on the computer, I'm posting this, I'm doing that, like, it don't matter. And that's what the phone brings to me, is an anxiety feeling of, you know, I need to get this done, this, like, oh man, like, I'm like, you know, I'm like that wound up that why? I just fly to Alice Springs and I spend 4 days with the boys with no phone reception. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. Like,
Yeah.
it's mad, you know, and it's not that I'm like, I mean, like work stuff. Like, I'm not looking, I couldn't care who, I don't even look at my comments. Like, I don't care. That's done and dusted. Like, I don't care if, I care more if people are taking the piss. Like, some dude, like, if someone tags me and something's just like, oh, look at Toddy, like, looks like such a goon, like, blah, blah. I'm just like, hell yeah. What'd you say, bro? Like, I just get like, I love it, you know, like that side of things, because I just love stirring crew up, and that's what it's about. And you can't do that on social media. Yeah. Unless you're like the New Zealanders where you're like, hey, boy, man, look at those bars on that thing. But you can't even do that on Instagram, can you?
Oh, what's the voice thing? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can do that.
But not on a comment. That'd be sick.
That would be good.
Yeah, so you can just press on people's voices.
The thing that I think is like interesting to kind of bring it full circle is like what you're talking about, of like that anxiety around your phone, and like, I've got to do this, got to do that, got to do this. Like, that's the period that I was in for just like a couple weeks, or like a week, I reckon, of just like being in my head, and all the things that I've known and worked on over the last few years that have just like, honestly, that shit's what's changed my life. Like, hands down. There's no bigger single thing that has made my life better, this podcast better, my writing, like literally everything in my life has got better from this kind of understanding and this like way of thinking. Yeah. And how most people go along in their life, right? And I'm talking to people listening to this podcast who ride bikes, that everyone can relate, right? So like that feeling you just described, like, fuck, gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this. That's Monday. Yeah. Tuesday, gotta do this, gotta do this. Fuck, I've got this, man. My fucking work's going on. And then I gotta organise this for this. All right, Wednesday. Fuck, oh, it's nearly the weekend. All right, fuck, gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this. Thursday. Fuck, man, this has gotta happen. I gotta go here, gotta go there. Friday, fucking, I've got to get my bike ready, go for a ride. Bliss. Yeah. They just check out. They get that feeling that we've been talking about. And then it's like, it's that fit. Like you go through this gnarly week and you're just craving the bike. Yeah. You're craving that time where you get to like get out of your head, right? Yeah. And then you got your Saturday, fucking perfect. And even like, I went and rode the vintage thing a couple weeks ago. Yep. It was crazy. I got in my car. I pretty much left my phone in the car the whole day. I didn't really use it, and I ended up getting in the car, and then the conversation started going again, and I was like, I noticed it so clear because it wasn't there all day. Yeah, it wasn't there when I was riding. Wasn't there when I was interacting with people. I was just so fucking present for this whole day, and then I got back in the car by myself, and the conversation started up. And I was like, dude, you spent the whole day without that shit in your head. And Tuesday was pretty much the same thing. Yeah, yeah. Like, and so that's why we crave these days at the track with the boys. Yeah. And like, everyone listening, man, like next time you are about to have a sick day where you're riding and shit, just see if it's the same. Yeah. See if it's the same for you, where like that fucking conversation in your head's gone. Yeah. And then you have that, let's say you ride on Saturday. And then you might do a couple things on Sunday that take you out of that conversation. When you're watching a real good movie, that conversation's not happening. Yeah. And then Monday, it starts up again. Bang, bang. Tuesday, fuck, I'm living for the week. You're like connected to this thought about your life and the story that you tell yourself. And I got to do this. You're just so connected and you're so in it. And it ends up like fucking boiling up, man. Yeah. And then you have your ride on the weekend and then it simmers down. Yeah. And then, dude, that's how most people live their life. They're just on this ride. Yep. All like, you're on it, and then briefly maybe it's surfing that's your thing. Yeah. Maybe it's motocross that's your thing. Maybe it's mountain biking that's your thing. Maybe it's cycling that's your thing. And then you're on this wheel, dude. You're like a hamster on the fucking wheel, like going. Then you like get off and ride. Yeah, but bikes. Back on. It's almost like the thing, you know, I've always said like cycling's like more man than machine. Yeah. Motorbike's like 50-50, and then you got like car, which is like more machine than man. But the thing that I find, everything I do, mountain biking, if I surf, there's still that, like, you know, you'll be
cruising along the mountain bike trails and you're just
You can wander off.
You know, you'd be like, man, I should have worn my Camelback. Like, man, I should make a T-dub Camelback, eh? Like,
yeah.
like, you know, and it just starts progressing. Like,
Yeah.
And surfing's exactly the same for me. Catch a wave lasts like that.
Yeah.
You know, because I can't surf. I don't even, like, I just stand up and then fall off.
Yeah.
So I don't get to like cruise along the wave and like get my silent time.
Yeah.
Like Julian Wilson, like in the barrel.
Yeah,
you know?
dog.
So I paddle back out. Pretty much when I'm duck diving, I'm like, yep, push down, knee on the board, bring it up, paddle out, sit out there. When's the next wave, man?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I want to progress. Like,
Yeah.
I need waves coming.
Yeah.
I need to catch like 50 waves today to get better than yesterday. Like, that's just in my mentality. Well, I get like 2 stand-ups for the like 4-hour session. So I'm out there just thinking about shit.
Yeah.
And then I'm probably so deep in thought that the next wave comes and I miss the bar.
That's the
so
point.
then I'm getting revved up.
That's the fucking point. And there'd be times in your racing career or like training where you've just drifted off, you've started thinking about something, then you make a mistake.
Yeah.
Because so like how I like to think about it, right, is you've got experience. So like you've got this like a Buddhist type term or like a spiritual term would be awareness. So you're just aware that there's an experience.
Yeah, talk about that yoga.
Yeah, so there's just an awareness, right? So you're aware of this experience that you're having. And then there's all of these things that are inside of that experience. And then the self, or like the voice in your head, is layering concepts and having conversations on top of that experience. So you've got this base level experience. So for you doing a moto, right? So like the most present that you could be is just being the awareness.
Yeah.
Everything that you add on top of that, you're like layering on top of your experience.
So like doing a start and then like sitting there and being like the experience is doing the start, like looking at the gate.
Yeah.
And then like layering it would be like
thinking about,
man, I need to click third gear straight away over the gate. Like, yeah.
So you're so then like, so let's say like experience of what you're doing is on the ground floor. So like you in the flow state, doing a moto, no thought, you're riding the best you've ever ridden, you're fucking yarding people by like a minute. That's like you are as close to experience and just being generally aware as you can possibly get.
Yep.
So then every thought that comes in or every conversation, because you remember how I was saying it's like it's out there and then you can look at the bug on the windscreen.
Yeah.
So that once you start paying attention to the voice in your head, you start looking at the bug on the windscreen, and then you're not as close to the experience as you were.
Yeah.
So that is why you miss a wave.
Yeah.
Or you fucking tuck the front. Like I'm convinced that a guy like Ford was just having a conversation at times, you know, when he had those big crashes, because it's like there's times where that dude was like unbeatable, you know.
Almost. Honestly, like Ford had the ability to, like, he was just so good on a bike that, like, I remember I was 16, like my first year pro, maybe 16, and he come back. So he broke his scaphoid. We're at the AIS. We did like a training camp. He broke his scaphoid on the push bike, so it took ages. You know, it's like a 13-week sort of thing.
Yeah.
Then he come back and he rode like, I think his first ride back, and then he crashed and broke his collarbone, like on that first ride back. So then he was out for like another 6 weeks. He comes back to Wanneroo, the gnarliest sand track, qualifies first, out front by miles, and just didn't have the fitness to keep it going. But I think he podiumed that round, you know, like, and when you watched Ford ride, he was just so smooth and didn't make mistakes. It's unfair.
Yeah.
You know, it really, because I lived with Ford. I spent a lot of time with Ford.
He's one of the fastest people I've ever seen on a bike.
And it's unfair that he didn't get the opportunity to go race in Nations or something like that, because he was hands down one of Australia's fastest dudes at the time.
I think he's one of Australia's fastest dudes ever.
Yeah, but like at that present time, like when we would train, it didn't matter. You put a stopwatch out, like I'd beat his time, and then he'd beat it, I'd beat it, and then if he couldn't, he'd be there for like half an hour, man, trying to and he would beat it. And he, like, when you go to a race, he had the ability of just turn up to a new track, you know, when I'm like, oh man, I feel a bit uncomfortable, whatever. He'd just go out and that's when he's qualifying first.
But so for you,
that's what he had.
But for you to be like, oh, I feel uncomfortable. That's a layer.
Yeah.
That's on top of experience.
Yep.
So when you start thinking about like, okay, so objectively, what's the experience that I'm having right now?
But how to touch on that? How do you not have that happen? Because everyone has that. Like we all, doesn't matter what we do. Like
it's
everyone
practice.
has that. But how do you, like if you go to a race and it's like you go out and you're like, oh man, I just don't feel good. You know, and you pull in and they're like, man, you look like you're killing it. Like that was Maitland. Like I felt terrible. You know, I did 2 laps, pull in, and I'm fastest in qualifying. I mean, fastest in practice.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, go softer on these forks, go softer on the rear shock. I feel bike's too fast, like feel terrible. And Jason's like, man, you look fine.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm out there and I'm just blowing up. And Cloudy got me towards the end, and so I got second. And then same thing qualifying, go out and I'm just this shit, like I just was that way and I couldn't feel it. Like
so and I think that's sort of what I was saying before, where you get real connected to it.
Yeah.
So like it's just a practice of. And that's why you sit down and just do 10 minutes. Like it's not even like you have to do much. You just get used to like noticing when you get swept up and when you get taken away, and then when you get fully connected to a thought. Because then it's like that. You just got to think about that shower thing, you know, like you can be standing in the shower and so lost in thought that you have zero actual awareness of the setting that you're even in.
Yeah.
And then you just snap out of it. Like when you said about scrolling and you're sitting on the toilet and your legs, like there's a point where you had no idea that you were losing the feeling in your legs.
Yeah.
Completely oblivious to it. And that is the fucking thing, like that self in your head that you're just so connected to. It's taking up all of your attention, I guess. You know what I mean? So it's just like in all these situations, I guess it starts with like having the insight and like really believing like, okay, so there is an experience taking place that could be pre-thought, which is when I look at Macy, I'm like that's an experience. Like she's just having an experience. There's no layers. There's no way that she can add on to this experience yet. Because she just doesn't have the tools to do it. And so that doesn't change for us in terms of like what your conscious awareness is. So when you say like, you talk about the brain. So that's the brain. So like what we just have this awareness. We don't know what it is. We don't know what consciousness is. We don't know why. So that part that's a mystery, but we are having an experience. And the fact that we know we're having an experience, that's the voice that's in your head. So when you're describing something about the experience that you're having, that's what you're talking about. That's the voice in your head. And so the more you get connected to that voice, the further away you get from having the experience. And so that's what, when I'm riding and I'm trying to, like cool them the other day, like looking down at the stopwatch being like, when is this cunt gonna end? That's me getting away from experience and closer to that self.
But that's what I mean. Like I've sort of done a fair bit on this stuff, but it is like how do you, like Maitland, for example, like, dude, who cares? Like that's when I ride my best. Honestly, like when I ride my best, I guess that was my coping mechanism. Was I'd go to the race and I'd be like, I don't care. Like, who cares? I don't, like, someone would be like, man, your tires on backwards. I don't care. I'll smoke you anyway. Like, I'd like quickly just brush things off like under the table, like and try and. I guess that was me keeping my brain. You're just seeing through it and make a mistake, and I'd just be like, I don't care. Like, and it seems. I guess I'm interested in it because I'm conscious of it now. Like that was my problem at our last round. I'm like, man,
you're just in your head.
Like I just need, like, honestly, like who cares? Just turn up and do what you do. Like if it's 5th or if it's 10th, well, man, debrief on Monday and work out what's going on. Like,
and there's some things that get better through thinking about them.
Yeah, but
You know, there's a time for that. Like, there is a time where you're like, okay, like Jill, you call her
Yeah.
into the meeting room and you're like, righto, we need to have a think
Yeah.
about this. But when you're on the bike, middle of the experience that you're having, like, that's probably not the time to have the meeting with your mind.
Yeah, well,
you know,
that's-
and that's how you've got to think of it. So
Yeah.
next time you're in that state where you're like, fucking, just literally, like, a good way I like to look at it, perfect example, like Matty going through some of the stuff that he's been going through lately. And I'm like around him all day, every day, right? So, like, I know that guy, that's my brother. And I see him and he's at the table. He's doing his thing. Then we go for a ride. He's doing his thing. And then we go do this. And I'm like, oh, he's killing it. He's fine. Everyone looks enlightened from the outside. You know, when he's sitting there, you're like, oh, man, it'd be so nice to just be that guy.
Present.
Yeah, you know, but then it's like inside, then I go up to him and I'm like, how you going? I'm really struggling, man, like fucking just can't stop there. And you're just like, oh,
You
it's
look fine.
Yeah, exactly. So like you're to other people, like,
Yeah.
so what's actually happening there is like, I can't see his self.
Yeah.
I can't see his thoughts. I can't see what he's connected to in his mind.
Yep.
All I can see is like him having an experience of sitting at the desk.
Wait, I had the best experience ever. Like, you're going to laugh at this. You know how we rode Coolum?
Yes.
Well, I stayed at Fords.
Oh, yeah.
And then we went up, caught up with Andrew Brophy, and so Jill and Macy come up in their car.
Sick.
So Jace drove back. We just had like good little time together. And went seeing Andrew Brophy, who's one of the skateboard buddies, and then on the way home caught up with Julian before he went to Olympics.
Yeah.
And Ash, and then it was cool. And then we hop in the car, like Macy's crying and stuff, and then Jill's like, man, we should have left earlier than this, like, we're gonna get traffic, and like just a bit tense, you know,
Yeah.
because Macy's like starting to blow up, and I'm just like, it's all good, man, like, who cares, we're just sitting in a bit of traffic, like, don't matter, we got nowhere to be. So it's like, must have been like 2 o'clock or something, whatever, 3 o'clock, drive back, getting in traffic, Macy's crying, like, I'm getting real wound up, like, and I'm just like, I'm pulling in the servo, the twin BPs, I'm pulling in the servo, I need to get a drink, I need to have a piss, and I'll grab a drink. Yep, no dramas. So we pull in the servo. Jill's like, oh, is there a Macca's? I'd love a sundae. Like, chocolate sundae. I'm like, yeah, no dramas. I don't know, I was just real wound up. I walk in, there's the biggest lineup of young kids, like young teenage kids, like hopped off a school bus, it looked like in Macca's, and I'm like, oh man, no dramas. I'll just go for a piss, and then I'll go get like some bottles of water for me and Jill, and I always eat a Wii mango Wii. So I grab a mango Wii, walk out, and Jill's just like, I open the door and she's like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm waiting for your sundae. I don't need a sundae that bad. We need to go. Like, and I'm just like, man, there's a big lineup. So I went and did my shit, and then I ordered it. I'm like, it's going to be 5 minutes. Like, it's no dramas.
Yeah.
Like, but at least you're going to be sitting in traffic, eating your sundae, happy as Larry.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, but I didn't need it that bad. And I was just like, hey, it's not for me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing this from the goodness of my heart. Like, so I was like, I was just like, man. So whatever, walk out, go get the sundae. I come in, I come back. This is the funniest shit ever. So we're in Jill's Golf. She's got this little blue Golf. I open the door up, right, and they're low as hell. So I open the door. I've got the sundae. I'm wound up. I've nearly ripped the handle off the car. I hop in the car like this, so I'm half seated. I go like this to grab the door. I got the sundae. I miss the door. It opens up. No joke. Just gets to the end of the hinges and goes on the car next door.
Oh.
And I was like, fuck, did that hit it? And I just like closed the door, wound the window down. Old mate winds his window down. It's the best. This is great. So parked next to us is a Range Rover. White one with black roof, wheels on it, blacked out windows. Window comes down. Big dude in there full of tats. If that didn't this car, man. And he's just losing his marbles. And I'm just like, sorry, man, didn't mean it. And I just like open the door to get out, and he just like gets out, and he's just like, what the hell, man? What? And I was just like, oh, thank God. Like, it's only a little bit of blue paint on there. Like, it didn't dent it or anything. I'm like, oh, thank God. Like, and he's just losing it. What the hell? This is ridiculous. This is a $180,000 car. Like, and he's just losing his marbles, walking around like off his head. Revved. And I'm there. I'm unstable because Macy's crying in the back. Jules, as I've hopped out, she's like, we don't have time for this. We don't have time for this. Like, blowing up. So I'm wound and I just get out. Old mate who owns the car walks around. He's got like the mohawk, like tats on his head and stuff. And they're probably really nice dudes, but just the disrespect that he was showing me, like he just comes around and he's just like...
Just carrying on.
Just what the hell, man? I'm just like, hey man, listen, I'm really sorry. Here's my phone details. Like, take a photo on my license. It's no dramas. I'll just get it fixed. Like, this is... That's why I parked over here, bro. That's why I parked all the way over here, bro. So no one... Far out, man. This is a $180,000 car. And I'm like, yeah, I know what a Range Rover is. Like, it's no dramas at all.
Yeah.
Like, but...
They still make white paint.
Like, straight away, like, the way he treated me, because I'm just a normal looking dude in the little Golf, like, you know, straight away, the disrespect that he was showing me, I was wound, man. And he just, like, 3 times, he just kept saying to me, like, he's just like, that's why I parked over here, man. And he's like, he's taking photos of my license and that. So it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And he goes to me, that's why I parked over here, bro. I've saved my whole life up for this car, like blah, blah. And I've just gone,
fuckwit.
Do you think I fucking meant to do it, mate?
Yeah.
Like, do you think I meant to do it? And he's just like, oh, man, I'm not having a go at you. And I'm like,
nah,
you are
man,
having a go. I was like, man, at the end of the day, bring it over. I'll paint it. I painted my car. Like, it's no dramas at all. Send me a bill. I'll get it fixed. Who cares? I said, I got a screaming kid in here, like, just losing my mind. I couldn't believe, like, and going back, you never know what people have had or what they've done. And, like, another example was I crashed at Nerang mountain bikes a few years back and I got a big hole in my arm. And so I go back. I was like, hey, Jill, can you take me to hospital? So we're driving in. We're trying to find this hospital and it's all dark, like not many street lights. Jill's like, come to this. It must have been a pedestrian crossing. We're just like looking, like trying to find this joint. And she just goes, and this dude like starts to walk on the crossing, and she just goes like this, like he's over the other side.
Oh, yeah.
You know, nowhere near hitting him. He lost it, man. He chased us. He run after us all the way. And I was like, oh, you got to turn left here, down through the car park. He is sprinting after us. And then I was just, Jill's like, oi, man, this dude's chasing us. And I was like, oh, I'll pull up. And I was just like, what's wrong, man? He just was like, you nearly run me over and blah, blah. And I was just like, hey, man, it's all good. Like, we didn't see you. Sorry about that. And then he's just like, friggin' hell, look where you're going. Off he went. And I was just like, what a psycho. Yeah. But then it's like, I've had a screaming kid. No joke. Like, these dudes are big. They bash me. I don't care. But I was so close to front kicking his door in and just being like...
Just copping the beating.
Punching him. And then old mate just bashing me.
Yeah.
And because I'm that dude, I just keep getting up. Because I've had heaps of pain. It doesn't really bother me. Like, he can snap my arm and I'm going to get up and jump on his bonnet and cave his roof in. Like, I was so close to that. And then when we drove off, Jill was sort of like... I didn't talk for like 40 minutes. Like, I was that wound up. And I was like... Wow, like you just don't know what people are doing. Like, you know, that's the biggest. I always try and show people respect because you don't know. Like, I've had people throw milk at me when I'm cycling and stuff like that. And, you know, like you don't know who people are.
Yeah.
And like for those dudes, it's like, you just hop out and you're just like, oh man, like we need to exchange numbers. We need to get this sorted out, eh?
Yeah. But that's the thing is like people I guess that's like the whole foundation of like why Buddhism's all about like love and compassion, right?
Yeah.
Is because if you're a person that can have an insight around like how you can get really lost in thought and how you can get so connected to things and how it can make you so emotional and so angry and the thing is then you look and you're like, if you could go back and do that situation again differently, let's say like you hit the dude's car door and everything, you'd go back and you would do it again differently. So like you obviously didn't have much of a choice in the moment. Like you were just there. all that shit was happening. And then with hindsight, you can look back and be like, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. But the reality is that you can't. You can't do things differently than how you did them. You can only look back and go, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't. That guy probably felt like a fucking idiot as well when he went away. So like when you've got this insight of the way that people's brains actually work and that everybody's dealing with this fucking roller coaster in their brain and that they can't get off the ride. Like not everybody has the ability to get off the ride once they're that angry. And then you have to just feel sorry for those people. Yeah. You have to be compassionate for those people and you have to like show love to everybody, man, because you're like, oh, dude, you're going through it right now. Like you're fucking got a complex around this car that you can't afford probably. And like, man, you've probably got some really gnarly thoughts going on. Like, I'm sorry for you, dude. Like, can I help you? You know, like when you realize that people have no fucking control, you can make an excuse for some, like, not make an excuse, but you can understand like, oh man, he's a shitty person. Like, fuck, that sucks for that person. Like, he has no real choice in that. Like, that's such a bummer he can't get off that ride. Like, wish I could help him. And then that's why, like in, you know, like Buddhism and those kind of, that spiritual, that's why it is about love, because you've got this realization that, man, people will just get on a ride that they didn't have a choice. Like, old mate didn't choose to have his door hit. Yeah. And then he got this feeling instantly and he got this thought that was saw red and then he stayed connected to it and he just went down this rabbit hole of fucking gnarly emotion. And it's just like, he at no point was that dude in control of what he thought, how he felt. Yeah. And then you're just like, oh, fuck, that's a bummer, dude.
But I'm like, you know, he sends me an invoice. It's like $250. Like, if it was me, there's no chance I'm sending some dude $250 for an invoice. Like, I'm like, stuff happens in life, you know, like for me, when things happen, I'm just like, hey man, no dramas. Like, hey, you know, I see your kid in there screaming its guts out.
Yeah, it's like, oh fuck, you're dealing with some
bad
shit.
Day, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I felt that where I was like, oh man,
you're just
like,
on a ride, eh?
I'm just like, all this stuff's happening, and then that happened, and you're just like, and I can totally like where I'm getting at with it is, it's like I'm the most placid dude ever. Like I just like, oh man, no dramas. Like, and I was just like driving home, being like, man, I need to just keep some pipe in my car. I can just,
that's just the story in your brain just going crazy.
Yeah, and I'm just like, when these dudes, when I punch him and they've got me on the ground kicking the shit out of me, I just get up and get that pipe and just go for it, you know? That ain't me. No. But it's like all this stuff that's happening, and like that, the example I said about like at the hospital, that poor, like you don't know that dude chased us. Like, he probably just lost his missus or something. Like, and that's the biggest lesson that I've sort of learnt. Like, and you see it all the time. Like that example, I don't know what they were going through. Yeah, you know, they probably had some gnarly shit going on to act like that. But it is like, you just can't be much on around like treating people like shit all the time. Like,
and then the other thing is like, that's not a good idea. But then if people are, you've just got to feel sorry for them. Yeah. And because they're on that ride. And we can relate. I can relate to like, dude, I got fucking so angry the other day I threw my phone. Yeah. That's fucking lame.
But Maddie, the best one I've ever seen is us going to...
Fuck off, Todd.
No, it wasn't. No, Maddie, the best one I've seen is we're driving behind him going to the launch of... what was that Red Bull video? I can't remember. Anyway,
cracked 3 or whatever.
Yeah, we're going
Toby's thing.
No, it wasn't Toby's. It was someone else. I can't remember. But we're driving along, and Maddie just like in his van just turns in front of the bus, and the bus hits him. And maybe it like knocked his mirror, like caved the side of the door in and everything, and I just lost it. I just wanted to bring that up because it's that funny.
That's fucking funny. I want to bring something up. Who should be on the Australian Motocross Nations team?
Oh man, it's pretty simple, really.
Well, tell me.
I honestly like the two Lawrences and Beaton. Like they're right insane. Yeah, it's cool. So I like to touch on the Lawrences. Like it was so sick to see Hunter. Like, you know, it was just like it was refreshing for me because I've been injured, like I've felt like all those things riding for teams and that, you know, he might not feel it, I don't know, but from you know
what you've been through.
Yeah, when I was in Europe, Hunter was on the Suzuki and he was kicking ass. You know, he was making progression, you know, to be the next massive thing. And then unfortunately injuries have come in and it's been one after another. So the time that he's lost on the bike is just unfortunate. So, you know, on top of that, you know, for me, it's like a good example is like Dean Ferris and I, like, we're always like racing each other and like trying to beat each other and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, when Dean kicks my ass, I come home and I'm like to Jill, man, I need to do this, this and this. And then I'm talking to Dad. Dad's like, oh man, I reckon the bike, like it looked like this or that, whatever, you know. Whereas Hunter goes home and his dad's just like, man, Jet just smoked it this weekend. Like, you know, like that is a hard thing. It's so insane to have the two brothers, but the rivalry, you know, that feeling of not being able to escape. And I don't know if they feel it. I don't know if that's a thing. I know that they'd be pumped for each other, but I know, you know, it would be difficult for Hunter to be progressing and, you know, on the Suzuki and then get the ride in America but then to be hurt, like, and not show what he's capable of is really difficult, because I know what it's like being out for 13 weeks and then turn up to a race, you know, and then getting, you know, 5th or 4th or whatever. People don't look at that and be like, oh man, he's been on the couch. Like, well, I do, because I know I look at Hunter and I'm like, come on man, just stop trying, like like don't even get 5th, man, just get 8th, like just get hours under your belt, just progress, like, because the reality is, as soon as you go, oh man, I need to get on the podium, like, and start pushing, boom, it happens, like, boom, there's another 6 weeks out, oh, there's another 10 weeks out, like it, and you just need to stay on the bike. Like, I know we always want to win, but the thing that I've seen, the amount of time that I've lost that I should have been progressing through an injury, where that day I should have just been like, man,
you're better off making like a 2% gain and staying safe than making a 10% gain.
Because then 10 weeks you can progress, whereas you've just made a step back. To catch all that up it's unheard of. So to see Hunter like come out and go 1-1, I was nearly in tears. I was just like, that's insane. You know?
Dude.
It's really cool. So
man, I'm assuming you didn't watch any Millville?
No.
Like on the weekend? Yeah. Man, so Millville, first moto, Hunter is in like 5th. Jet starts been fucking terrible. So he's come through the pack. Hunter's stuck behind Volan for like, fuck. Did you watch it?
No, not the first one.
Oh, he was probably stuck behind Volan for like 5 laps, dude.
Yeah.
And he was faster, but he couldn't pass him. Jet has passed like 7 fucking dudes, pulls up on the back of Volan, passes both of them in one turn, like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, no matter how mentally strong Hunter is, you can't look at that and not be fucking off it.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't care how mentally tough it is.
Yeah.
But it's funny, like, I was talking to Jet the other day, and Southwick, the same thing. So like, exactly what Hunter, I'm assuming that Hunter would have been completely off it, because he was still behind Volan for like another 3 laps, man.
Yeah, right.
And then Hunter's just like, Jet just dipped out. But exactly what Hunter would have felt then, Jet felt that same thing at Southwick. Like, he was like, man, I'm so happy for Hunter. Like, it was the sickest thing ever. But he's like, I was so pissed.
Yeah.
So I think that as long as they don't get fully caught up in it, which I just think Darren's too cool of a dad to let it happen. But you'd have to think, like, Millville, he would have been over it that Jet was able to do that. But Southwick, Jet was so fucking over Hunter that he was able to go 1-1, and like, you know, Jet lost a heap of points that weekend. So it goes back and forward with those two. And I feel like over time, that consistent rivalry, like you and Ford had that shit, man.
Yeah.
You know, like when you and Ford were training together and you kind of moved down and lived with Ford, like you guys had that crazy rivalry of like pushing each other at the track. You kind of did the brother thing in a way, you know, like you fully embraced each other as they're like almost like brothers, same team, same bike, same everything. And we're just like trying to fucking kill each other on the weekends. Like there's something, and that's probably when you progress the most.
Yeah, definitely. And that, I just look at it and I'm like, man, it must be tricky, because I've had big rivals, like, you know, like Dean and I have just been rivals forever. You know, that's who I really like it. It's like the best thing ever. I just love it. But I get to go home and work
You
and
get
then
away
see
from
him at the races, you know, like, so it would be a really interesting thing.
Yeah.
Like, it would be super interesting, but it's, I love it. Like, I love to see the boys over there. You know, by all means, I never made it to a position like they ever did.
Yeah.
But I got to experience the factory ride. I got to do that. You know, I did it later. It was just a lot different for me. You know, for me, them making it in Europe is almost, it's like me making it here in Australia, because I come from Atherton.
Yeah.
You know, so for me to move down, live with Ford, and then I bought a house, and like, that's my dream.
Yeah,
and then next minute I'm in Europe and I'm like,
this is extra again.
Well, I didn't dream this big.
Yeah.
So it was really cool. So for me, I know how hard it was for me to get over there, because it wasn't a set in stone thing where dudes are just like, oh man, we've been watching that Todd Waters over there. Like, you know, it wasn't like that for us. Like, Dean and I had to like try and really make it happen. So that's what, now it's a lot easier. You know, teams are looking at Regan and these guys.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like I just get really amped. Like when Cloudy was over there riding Supercross, I was just like, awesome. You know, he's getting top fives, because I know behind the scenes, that's what people don't understand. Like when I flew to Europe, it was literally 2 gear bags, me flying to Amsterdam, and then I landed Amsterdam. I get on a phone and I'm like, hey auntie, I've landed. And he's like, yeah, just jump on the train and I'll pick you up from Eindhoven. I don't know if anyone's been to Amsterdam airport, but you go to the train station there and there's
a million ways
there
you
is
can go.
tunnels going like this. No, like, and I'm 21 years old. I'm just like, this is insane. So the thing that I just got dumped into, and then it was like I was living with auntie for a while, like, you know, pretty much living like a Finnish. Like, it's just completely different. Like how they eat porridge, like just their bread is like, just, they don't have like white bread. They have, it's almost like a cake. It's like dark and like dry. Just heat, like, these are the things where it's like, man, I haven't even, I'm used to just like in my house and eating breakfast and then going for a ride. Well, now it's like, well, nah, man, you can't ride till 1 o'clock. Tracks don't open till 1. And I'm like, yeah, but I normally ride at 8 and then I train off the bike in the afternoon. Like, it just all these little things
that add up to something really important.
Yeah, like, it just so out of your comfort zone. Like, all these dudes just can't even speak English. Like, you know, that was the biggest thing for me. Like, you'd take the piss out of him, like, and they'd just look at you and just be like, oh yeah. So for me to see like these kids like go over, I'm just like, awesome. Because for me, because
you understand how hard it is.
Yeah, and for me, I was like, it's unfortunate because I set myself up. Like, I got set, and then circumstances changed, and I didn't fight hard enough for it. Like, there was a bit of like homesickness and a bit of things, and some where I needed to come home and reset and go back over, like, and that wasn't available. And so there was circumstances where, you know, I come back, which I shouldn't have, like, because I just
started getting the
I did
flow.
1 year in the MXGP, and like, you know, I had a house, I had a camper van, I had a car, like, all sorted. Now I can just race. I know the practice tracks, like, got my practice mechanic, like, I was set to progress. Like, that next year should have been like progression. And to see exactly like Luke Clout do that in America, like, you know, he was getting top fives, like, you know, he would be on the box winning races, man. Like, and we can't say that, but that's the progression. Like, that's, you know, I look back and I'm like, the things that I achieved in the MXGP class, I'm like, man, like, in between races, I'm driving to Brussels to sort out my visa to live in the country, like, and it can only be for 12 months. So then the next year, in between flying to Brazil, I'm driving down on Monday. I'm telling them that I live in Holland, which is, I'm giving them a fake address, like just sorting visa shit out, you know, like trying to register cars and all this, like, so that next year I should have progressed, like, because it's simple. There's no more noises in my head.
Yeah, you've just checked all those boxes.
Yeah, I know everyone. I know the tracks, because that was the biggest thing, going to a track and being like, fuck, these dudes have been racing them forever. Like, you just know the dirt, you know how to prepare the weeks before, like all this stuff. And that's what I see with these young kids. I try, you know, because for me, when I went to Europe, like there was no dudes being like, hey man, like, hey, you got to make sure you get this visa or whatever, you know, like, and that's like young Beaton, like he's just gone over, and that's exactly how you got to do it.
Yeah,
like, you got to do
embrace it,
as young as you can and learn. Like, he's
just stay there.
Gone over, he's lived, he raced EMX. Like, he didn't go over to race MX1 on a full factory team. Like, he went over to progress as a young kid. So already, well, he's 20, so he's 22, I believe. So 21 is when I went over. So 22 is my first year. Look at what he's experienced. Like, he's set, man. So when he steps on a 450, like, he's all sorted. Whereas I'm still trying to work out how to register a car. Yeah. So, like, to see, like, I just would have wished to see Cloudy, like, to stay there, because I'm like, he's so good at Supercross. Yeah. He's a really good motocross rider, but Supercross, he's like Chad, like, you know, they're just special at Supercross. Yeah. And Cloudy's done America before, but injuries, you know, and that same thing, come back from injuries, like femurs, man. You know,
that's a big injury.
Yeah, and racing after broken femurs, like, I know that edge. So that's the biggest thing for me, is like to see these young kids, like, go, I get that excited. Yeah. Because all it takes, you know, all it would have taken is someone to phone me up, you know, Townley or someone, just be like, "Oi, dude, I hear that you come back to Australia." "Yeah, man, I'm coming back. Like, I'm going to sign on for good money, blah, blah." All you need to say is just be like, "Man, that's the biggest mistake of your life. Like, it's a retirement village here." You know, and like,
that's crazy, eh?
If I can try and do that for some people, because I was talking to Cloudy about it, you know, and it's the same, you know, Regan's in a real tipping point of his career right now, because there's a short time when you can be a Hunter Lawrence or a Jet or a Chad. Yeah. Chad, he was out of here at 17. Like, you've only got that short time. And unfortunately, the mentality that you have is probably not that great, because you're immature and you're young, and it's all happening fast. So you can't make decisions that you look at, you know, and that's what, when I talk to these younger riders, I'm like, man, you got to really get over there and like have a crack. Like, and I almost feel like they look at me and they're like, "Oh yeah, but you just want to get rid of me so you don't have to race me." Like, I don't care, because I'm racing off-road as well. Like, if someone phones me up, I'll go race Dakar. Like, you're the least of my worries. I don't care, man. Like, if you beat me, I'll shake your hand and be like, "That's sick. That's another week you've wasted, eh?" Yeah. Like, because that's my biggest thing. If I could go back in time now, I wouldn't change anything, except when I walk in, when I was, what was I, 18? Yeah, 18 when I started getting a house loan and stuff. So 19, I had my house. Man, I would have just went and got a $300,000 loan, went and bought myself a ride in Europe. Like, if I could go back, and then just ride around. And just stay there. Just learn, ride around. Yeah. And then go to America, ride around, just learn. So then when you're 25, you're something. Like, you've got that experience.
Well, I think it's hard. Like, so one of the things I want to talk about was Cloudy and Regan. Yeah. Because we've got two dudes right now in Australia. Like, man, Cloudy at Manjimup. Yeah. He was really, really good. Yeah. Like, good luck beating him, anybody coming over. You know, like, you'd have to go pretty high up
Yep.
into the AMA 450 class to find a dude that would beat Clout at Manjimup the way that he rode,
Yeah.
I reckon.
Yeah.
Like, at that track, that weekend with him
Yep.
on his bike, they bought their... Like, he was legitimately world class. And maybe you'd be getting into, like, the top 5, top 6, top
Yep.
7 that would actually be able to beat him.
Yeah, but like you said, bring them here.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I talk about. He's in his, he's got his mechanic, he's got his girlfriend there.
Yeah, it's
he's
his
eating
bike,
his food.
yeah.
Like, so all those noises that we talk about are gone. So on his given day, like, he's a top dude. But like I explained, him going to America, like, in between the motocross and 19, I went and raced 3 rounds over there. So Brad, who's the head guy at Husqvarna over there, he gives me his 450 to ride, So I'm riding his 450, throw my suspension in it and stuff, and go out. Like, we're living out of a motorhome. There's Jace, there was like 7 of us living in this big RV, like, driving around to the 3 rounds. I'm just taking the piss.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. You can't do good like that. Nah.
No, and I am just taking the piss. I was like, and look back on it now, exactly what it was. I just said, man, I'm going for a holiday. I've never raced in America. I'm going to do some outdoor events.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you're not going to do well.
I did off my own back.
Yeah.
Like, it was sweet. And Ferris was there, which was cool. Like, he was riding for the factory Yamaha. So we just did it full privateer, and it was mad. We had an awesome time. Like, it was a holiday. We didn't ride during the week. We went to Zion National Park. We seen America. Like, well, that side of America, Colorado. So that was cool. And then that's these young guys, like, they're like, oh yeah, I've been talking to this person. I've been talking to this person. No, you know what you do is you just phone up one of these dudes. You phone up, Roger DaCosta, and you're just like, hey man, I'm so-and-so, 17 years old. Man, I'm beating these dudes in Australia. Like, I think I can do something for you. And he'll be like, oh yeah. So what's your name? Yeah, I'm so-and-so. I want to lease a bike off you and come and show you how good I am.
Yeah.
Like, at the outdoors. Can you just build me a bike?
Yeah.
This is my engine spec here in Australia. This is my I'll bring my suspension, and I'm going to bring a mechanic. We're just going to fly over. I just want to hire a bike. You just bring it there to the races for me. I can fit in 3 rounds. I'm just going to show you what I can do.
Yeah.
Imagine that as a 17 or 18-year-old kid.
Yeah.
So for me, for example, like back in the day, McFarlane and Coops come back and all these guys. Marmot was the top of his game. I go out and win the first round. I had the red plate at 18 years old on the 450. Imagine if I phoned up one of those dudes and was just like,
Yeah.
hey man, hey Roger, my name's Todd Waters. I want to come and be the next big thing in America. I want to follow Chad Reed's footsteps. How much is it going to cost me to hire a bike? $5,000 US. Great, I'm coming.
Yeah. I wonder if they'd fucking do it, eh?
Why not?
Yeah.
I phoned up and I was like, hey, can you just get me a bike? Blah, blah. Yep, we'll give you Brad's bike.
Yeah.
You see me over there racing the 3 rounds.
Well, I wonder, that's sort of what I wanted to ask, right? Like, I think it's kind of a fuck up. Like, unless you do what Jed did and you go real young and, like, you just plant your roots down and you're just like, I'm staying in Europe. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to figure it out. Like, if you do the Australia thing and you don't do that, like go from lights bike here to lights bike there. If you go lights bike, kill it, 450, kill it, like where Cloudy and Regan are right now, and then you go back to America on a lights bike,
Yeah.
that's not the move to me. Like,
Yeah.
I think that if you either go, you do what Jet and Hunter did, and what Jed's done, and you go to Europe and then you do the lights thing and then you go on a 450.
Yep.
But I think that if you've ever raced a 450 and if you've done seasons on a 450 and if you've won titles on a 450, you can't go back. You can't go back into the class. Like, if Regan went to America right now and raced 250 class, he'd get fucking smoked, I reckon. But if Regan went on a 450 and he had like a factory KTM and he went to Southwick, top 5.
Yeah, but so you gotta see what the classes are. So for me, like MXGP is a good example. So will the top 5 MX2 guys, will they win in MX1?
Don't think so.
No.
No.
Will they get top 10? Probably not.
Depends, I reckon.
Yeah.
But there'd be a couple of guys, I reckon.
Yeah.
But like so you think about the way that Cloudy went, right?
Yeah.
At Manji,
Yep.
for example, like, and Regan, man, like Regan should have won those races,
Yeah.
but Cloudy fucking stole that from him. Like he stole he stole the hot chick of the dance at Manji Mum. But it's like, I just think when you've put in that time and you've put in the time to learn how to ride a 450 and your fitness is revolved around riding a 450 and like you're dialed in on that program, to go back to a lights bike on new tracks and new class and like it's a different style of ride. Like I think too on a lights bike, the way that Americans ride a lights bike is crazy different.
Yeah.
Like it's such a different style, different intensity. Like I feel like you can get lost in that. I feel like there's kind of only really, like once you reach the top echelon of 450s, you're riding the bike the same.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Like I don't think the style changes that much. But I just think it's a mistake for guys to go and ride, go backwards to ride a lights bike and try and rebuild their career. It's like you've already built your career. Whereas, you know, Jed, he built his lights career here, won the title, then he's still in his lights career. So I reckon that's the thing that trips a lot of people up. And I would back that if Cloudy did what like Ferris did, when Ferris went over and got on the podium at High Point, I just think you'd see the same thing. Yeah. Like a guy that's dialed in on his bike, he's on a 450, like just don't step back.
Yeah, but Ferris, going back on that, Ferris is a good example because he was here racing with me. On 450. He built a 450 career. Yeah. And winning races. Like he was a top 450 guy here in Australia. Then he goes to Europe and he rides for Ice One on the Kawasaki on the 450. He had some good results and stuff. Then he signed for Dixon on the 250. Yeah. Then you've seen him stand on the top step.
Yeah, but I do agree with you. Yeah. But that bike was insanely good.
But the
insanely good.
Yeah, but the bikes are good in Europe, like
but see that Cosworth, he had that 3-speed Cosworth in that bike. So like he was whole shot in 450s at Motocross of Nations. Like he just got lucky, I think. I don't think that's probably the wrong way to say it. Yeah. I think that in the same way that like, so if you're on like Ty Masterpool, good example. Like he was on Star Yamaha last year. Even I was talking to a guy about this the other day, and he's like, man, it was impossible to pass that dude at Redbud. On a Star Yamaha. Yeah. And he's like, this year I passed him like he was fucking standing still. Yeah. So I think that right time, right bike, right place. I'm not taking anything away from Ferris. I think he would have done it regardless. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know, man. I just think that when you've got the momentum that Cloudy does on a 450 and Regan does on a 450, like why go backwards and relearn this whole new thing? Yeah,
but like it's riding a bike. Like for me, a good example is the Rockhampton King of the Capricorn last year.
Yeah, true.
You know, like I haven't ridden a 250 since 2012, and Regan's bike was sitting there, and the boys were calling me out. So I went out to Willowbank on Wednesday. The week before. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, Jace, we'll do like a race simulation. So I go out on the 250. So we do a 30-minute session and we do practice qualifying. Yeah. So first 10 minutes is practice and then qualifying the rest. So I lay down laps, like, you know, pushing, but just comfortably. Then I go back on the 450 and I go out for the exact same thing. And I'm out in the 10 minutes. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to be like 5 seconds faster on this 450. Coming out of the turns, just like so much power. It was ridiculous. I go around 2 seconds slower. What the hell? Like, so I start wicking it up. I'd start pushing seconds slower. I'm like, oh man, like I pushed like hell, not like I did on the 250. I pushed like hell. I mean, like nearly crashing and stuff, and I matched the lap time. And
That's insane.
I was just like, so for that day, I'm on this 250 and I'm riding around just going, wow, this is such a nice bike. I was like, I hit a bump, don't even feel it. Come in the turn, I hit the turn. On 450, I come in, picks up on the bump, pushes the front. When I get on the gas, the thing's just sliding and wheeling, and like they are shitboxes 450s. Like I like 450s because you need to know how to ride a 450. Like when the track gets rough, upper gear, carry momentum, hop things, you got to play with a 450, not 250. 250 is the best bike you can ever ride. Like that Husqvarna 250 that Regan had that Jason built. I was just like, this thing is the best bike I've ever ridden. Like, hands down. Because I've ridden 450 since I was 18. So I can't even remember what 250s are like. And it felt exactly like my 450, a little bit slower, but the best handling. It felt like I had, like, the most factory tires you can ever have on a motorbike. I couldn't get the front to push. Like, I'd just come in, when I'd back off, it'd just go like this. It'd stick. And then when I get on the gas, it'd just wheelie out. No, like, trying to flick you off.
Yeah.
You know, so at Rockhampton, I'm 80 kilos, 82 kilos. And Jay Wilson's there giving me some smack and, oh man, you won't get off the start. You're too heavy on that thing, blah, blah. I pull the biggest hole shot, going like this down. Like, what the hell? Like, and you can just ride the wheels off the things. So for me, like, I don't doubt 1 second if you put Regan or you put Cloudy on a 250, they're going to ride it fast, you know? So that's an example of, like, when you can ride a bike, you can ride a bike. Yes, I was always, as a younger kid, I'd ride 250 and 450. And at the state titles, I'd smoke everyone on a 450 as a 16-year-old kid. And then I'd be, like, battling, trying to win races on the 250. Yeah. So that's why I stepped up early. Yeah. Because I felt I rode a bigger bike better. But for Regan, you got to look at as well. You know, let's say we go to Europe and we go, okay, do I go in the 250 class or do I go in the 450 class? Well, the 450 class, there's 10 dudes that are world champions. Like, yeah, they know how to win 19 rounds around the world. Yeah, they know what they're doing. You know. Then I look at, like, the 250 class and it's like, okay, there's a French kid, like, you know, he hasn't won a championship yet. He's winning races. There's this guy, like, you know, he's really fast, but then he crashes here. He's no good on hard pack. Or this dude's real good in sand, like, you know. So that's what I look at. It's like when Dean was over there, Dean, you know, he would put it on the box in, like, hard pack and, like, ruddy conditions, you know, but then go in the sand. And hurling's, it's just, like, ridiculous. You know, I remember watching Dean at Valkenswaard the last round. I think he placed 7th. You know, a few weeks before he stand on the top step of the podium. You know, and that's how
big of a difference
it is. Yeah. But that ain't in the MXGP class.
Yeah, the same dudes.
You're just 7th, man.
Yeah.
Like, and then the next weekend you're 15th. Yeah. You know, like, it's not. They know what they're doing, and that's, like, in America, Tomac knows what he's doing. Roxon knows what he's doing. You know, Barsha knows what he's doing. Like, these dudes, you name them, you know, down the list, and you're like, oh, we're at, like, 7th now or 5th.
Yeah,
you know?
We're still champs.
Like, we're pretty heavy hitters, you know. Whereas then we go in the 250 class and it's like, you know, Hunter went 1-1. You know, Jets, he's won some races, like, you know, but there's, like up and down.
Well, there'll be like 6. I think there's already like 6 or 7 different winners in the 250 class.
Yeah, there's like some up and downs, like, because they're young, they're learning, they're progressing, they're working it out. You know, they're having problems with teams. There's girlfriends. There's all this stuff. No, there's none of that in the 450 class. Ken Roxon, no, he's got a wife. You know, he's got trainers. Like,
yeah,
you know,
his program is dialed. He's been working on his program for years.
Man. Like, have you seen his calf muscles, man? Yeah. Like, you know, like, they're so solid. So for me, it's a great idea to go 450, but that's exactly what I did. I went straight over. But for me, it was like, man, like, these, like, you know, at Majura, like, I passed Caroli, you know, that got me on the podium. But I never seen the dude ever again.
It's so fucking heavy when you actually look at it like that, eh?
Like, it's just, like, it's one thing to like, beat someone, but then, like, and classic examples like Ferris, like, I just go, it's such bullshit, like, the age rule. Yeah. Simply for him. Like, he goes over, he does the 450 thing, and then he steps back on 250, gets the suspension dialed. He ended up buying his own suspension, like, got the bike feeling how he wanted, puts it on the box, puts it on the top step, like, goes in the sand. You know, the boys put it to him in the sand. So then the next year, he's living in Lommel, man. The next year, he's going to be better in the sand. Yeah. And he's going to be a dude. Be more there, you know? It was upset, and that's what I talk about. Time is ticking. Yeah. Like, Dean experienced it. I didn't because I went straight to 450.
Yeah.
But I seen, man, what if I just come and race EMX and like made the progression? And I hope that Jed can do that, like Beaton.
Yeah.
So Jed, I hope that he can now like go on the 450 because he's a big, strong dude.
Yeah.
Like I hope that he can progress through the teams because the reality is like you've got the 450 class and it's like, okay, we have like 15 dudes. Well, we have 20 dudes that should be factory, but we've only got 10 seats.
Yeah.
Like, so all of a sudden you're getting passed by these guys that aren't on factory bikes.
Yeah.
Like just smoking it. And then like when I was over there, you have like Mark Deruva come and ride like the Lommel GP and smoke you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and he just rolls up because he's
Yeah.
just the best sand dude around.
Yeah. So your team is Hunter and Jet. So Jet obviously on the 250, Hunter
Yep.
on the 450, and then you're putting Jed Beaton on the other 450.
Yeah, definitely.
What about let's say Cloudy wins the title or Regan wins the title?
Yep.
Like, is there an argument for Australia sending the champ from Australia every year in the 450 class to take like the MX3 spot? Like, do you think that's a good thing to do for the Australian sport, or should we always just be picking like the best dudes?
Yeah, it's a hard one. That it's really difficult because for me, like nations is so important as a rider's career. It's the building platform.
It's huge for Hunter.
Yeah, and for me,
Yeah.
like, and for Dean.
Yeah.
So, an example, for years and years, Australia picked the guys overseas,
Yeah.
which is fair, you know. So then they hurt themselves. This is an example. They hurt themselves, so they send myself, Lawson Bopping, and Luke Stikes.
Yeah.
Who are they? To Lommel, deepest sand track in the world. Who are they? The person on the mic gets up and's like, oh, like at our press conference, there was only like people with Australian shirts on. There's no one even there.
Yeah.
Like, we go out and I qualify 5th. Don't know why. Like, why would that happen? You know? So first moto, I go down with where I didn't actually crash, but that was the one that Hurling's crashed, and I ride over his bike and I'm off the track. So I'm basically last. I come through to 5th in that race, and Hurling's comes through, and I think he was coming to lap us actually. Like, it's ridiculous. But so I got a 2 5ths, I believe. Stikesy got a 5th in his race.
That's wild.
And Lawson was I think he was like 8th. And so anyway, I think we got 6th for Australia that year. And that was like one of the highest placings.
Yeah, yeah.
We were no one.
Yeah.
But they gave us the opportunity.
Yeah.
So what happened? I was in Europe.
The next year.
That was me.
Yeah.
Do you know why? Because they see me ride at Lommel.
Yeah.
Who is this dude? He comes from last to 5th.
Yeah.
But I was given the opportunity.
Yeah.
So that got me the ride. The year before was Ferris. He did the same thing. He got to Europe.
Yeah.
You know? So that displays, because no one cares about here. We are going slow because our tracks are slow. We got 10-meter tabletops. Like, why are we going to look sick? It's on TV now, but the tracks are just tiny. Like, you know, Maitland was just a shadow. I couldn't even see where I was going from the sun because they put it in the afternoon. So it's great, but for me, that changed my entire career. That, for me, it was like, oh man, it'd be so sick having a job like Andrew McFarlane traveling around Europe in a camper van.
Yeah.
That would be insane, you know. Him and Michael Byrne, these guys, they were getting like 20th and stuff at the Nations, you know. Like, and then we go over and we get some good results. That allowed me to do what Andrew McFarlane did. I travelled around in a camper van with me missus, racing MXGPs. So then that brought me to Assen. So Motorcycle in Australia were like, Todd, we want you to go because we won one of the national champions there.
Yeah.
I said, that's ridiculous to think that. Like, why would you want to send me to Assen? Oh, because, you know, you're a good sand rider? Not really. Like, I'm pretty shit. to tell you the truth. Like, that's just honest.
Yeah.
Like, I can ride in. I'm shit sand rider, but I'm better at sand than hard pack.
Yeah.
So we're going to send me over to represent Australia they bring sand in. I've raced 2 GPs there.
It's insane.
Bring it in. It feels like riding in powder. It's raining. I'm like, most likely I'm not going back to Europe or America. Like, let's rule that one out. So then I'm just taking up someone's spot. Like, but we want to get a good result. Why? Like, I can get some fifths and stuff because they take half of the GP field out and everything. You got to remember, there's only 3 dudes from each country.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of dudes missing from there.
Yeah.
So I can get a fifth. That's sweet as. I said, but like,
what's the point?
Like, are we going to win or?
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to. I'd love going to the Nations. I love it more than anything. But Regan was there, and I was like, I would like to send Regan because no one did that for me. No one said, man, Todd turned 16 and won his first ever pro race. He hopped on Ryan Marmont's bike and won at Toowoomba. No one phoned up and sent me to the Nations. And then when I won it when I was 18, first year on 450, no one said, oh man,
maybe we should give this kid a shot.
Someone should have just been like, oh man, like, I know his parents aren't real wealthy. Like, man, we should just take him over and race a GP. Like, imagine, But I got that opportunity when I was 21 to race the Nations and show.
Yeah.
And then I got a ride. And that penciled in my career.
Yeah.
Being an overseas racer. So that's what I did. I said, I want to send Regan over there. It all happened. It worked perfectly. Regan got seen by the world. He rode amazing.
I didn't know that you did that.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted. That's the thing that I wanted to do because I know I'm going to fly over 23 hours. It's going to be the deepest sand track. I am not competitive.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard you got Koldenoff, you got these dudes that are sand gropers. Like, I'm talking at Lommel when I got 5th, like, Dungy was at the end of the rollers and I was the next one to get lapped by Hurlings. And that race, I passed Blake Baggett. He was on the Monster Energy bike. So he's lapping top dudes. Like,
yeah, it's just psycho, like
so
the difference.
I'm going to go to Assen for the MXGPs and get lapped.
Yeah.
Like, and get 5th and get lapped.
So I mean, I guess, that's kind of my point with this is like, do we have to commit as Australia to sending our champ, like our 450 champ, and that's the guaranteed spot? Like, I don't know. It'd be a hard one to make a hard rule.
Yeah.
That's how it's got to be because, like, dude, Australia can win the Motocross Nations this year.
Yeah. So,
like, if I actually think Australia could win the Motocross Nations this year so Hunter and Jet shoe-ins for me.
Yeah.
I think that even just from a marketing exercise.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine what's going to happen when Jet hits the fucking track for the first time at Motocross Nations this year?
Yeah, it'd be massive.
People are going to lose their fucking minds.
Yeah.
Like, it is going to be an absolute show.
It's at Ernée again, isn't it?
No, it's in Italy.
Oh, because Ernée, I just wasn't sure with the COVID stuff because last year was Ernée, wasn't it?
I can't even remember. It's in Italy, though, for sure this year.
Oh, that would be pretty big.
Yeah. Like, imagine. So, like,
sick.
you have to send those two.
Yeah.
HRC bikes in Europe. Like, I think they'll probably be on the 2022 Honda 250.
Yeah.
Huge. Like, so for Australia, I mean, man, we are going to be front and center at this year's Motocross Nations. So,
but, like, Jed Beaton as well, like...
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
yeah.
Like, see, for him, this has to happen, like, because he's looking to ride 450.
In Europe, yeah.
He needs to
this
ride...
is going to be a chance
He needs
for
to ride the Nations on the 450 and show what he can do on the 450. So, for me, like, it's just a perfect team.
Yeah.
But then when, for example, like, Hunter or Jed's 30 years old, and they're getting 10ths and 8ths and 6ths at the AMA, do we send them or do we send
the next kid
that's 16? So that's where you got to weigh it up. Right now it's a young Australian team. It's sick. Like, they're going to progress. They're going to get every bit out of it.
Yeah.
And it's Australia's best option to win.
Yeah.
You know? But rewind last year, you send me over. What for? Like, you know, I'm not like the team isn't in a position to win. Like, you know, like.
Yeah. So that's when you should be bringing up the talent. Yeah.
That's where it was a hard decision because I was just like.
Because of course you want to race Motocross of Nations.
I'm turning down the Motocross of Nations. Like, it's massive. But I was just like, man. And it made me feel really good. And it exactly worked. Like, Regan had offers coming out of his backside, you know, but he just felt that he needed to stay here and cross this off. And it's a delicate position, and this is only my this is only my, you know, outlook on things. You know, everyone looks at things differently and stuff, and I only, like we've touched in the past, I only go off my experiences. And it was, like I say, hey, I love racing Regan. Like, it's no problem at all. Like, it makes no difference to me if I get second or third or first, if he's there or if he wasn't there, you know, makes no difference at all, really. But it makes a big difference to him. Like, it's a really big difference, you know, because like I explained, I ride factory Husqvarnas here, and there's only one motocross bike and one off-road bike, and I'm the dude on them. Well, those teams over there, their population, our whole country fits into one of their cities. Like, there's lots of dudes that are faster, you know, but they see potential in him and they want to progress him. So that's the thing that I always found interesting. I'd go over there. I was racing for Ice 1. I'd go race a Dutch Championship race and two dudes would beat me. I don't know what their name is. They ride like bikes without stickers on. Yeah. You know? Oh, yeah, but they're sand gropers. When they go to GPs, they don't ride that good. Well, I beat them at the GPs because they weren't there. Yeah. You know? In Europe, there's just fast dudes everywhere. I was always thinking, I wonder why he doesn't have a ride. Like, because that given time when they gave that kid a chance, he didn't perform at those GPs. Yeah. You know? And
then you're out.
Yeah. And that's where, like, when I was there, I had my ring out, like, trying to progress, and they seen progression. Like, yeah. So that's, it's definitely MX Nation's team. Like, it's set in stone. But I just like, you know, for example, like the next, like for me, it was like me or Gypsy or like send Metcalf, like give Regan a go. Like, you know, chuck these kids on. Yeah. Let them go.
You can
like,
change their life.
Wick it up. Like, all they have to do is just go there and in just one race, whole shot the thing and just hold the thing wedged. Yeah. You know, like, and just ride well above their head.
And even if change their life.
Even if they crash, like all he has to do is just like go around the outside of Crowley and hold him off for like 15 minutes, and they'll be like, oh my God, he's just not fit enough. He needs to be on our program here in Europe. Yeah. That's it. Like, yeah, and that's where I go back to, like, I'm like, that's the one bit of advice I could give to these kids that are coming up is to get over there. Like, you know,
get there and stay there.
Like, yeah, but even like right now, like for Regan, like, get on a plane and go race some motocross. Like, don't ride in Victoria. It's boring as. Yeah. Like, training wise. Yeah. Like, jump on a plane. Yeah. Like, for me, like I look back on it and you're like, oh man, it costs like a couple grand in flights and whatever. Man, you don't think of that. Like, I did a privateer thing for 3 rounds, paid the whole thing myself. Well, I didn't notice it. Like, hired a motorhome, everything. Yeah. You know, made it happen. Just make it happen, man. And that's the thing, when you're young, I talk about like the young...
You kind of can when you're young.
Yeah, but the young kids, like, they're at that age, they got the opportunity, but they just need that, like I said, like...
The push.
If Townley, like, he's world champ, if he phoned me up, just, hey Todd, I heard that you come back to Australia, bad move. Oh, really? But I had this and this sign on, and man, don't worry about the money, like, just... Yeah. Like... That's all it takes.
Yeah. No, you're so right. So, do you think Jet could go 1-1 at Motocross of Nations? Could he RV the thing?
Yeah.
Do you think Jet's that good?
Bloody oath. bloody oath. So this is the thing about a nations is you're a team. So then so let's say you qualify like at Twitch we qualified first. So
That's right.
So you got first gate pick.
Yeah.
So Ferris and I so you go to each person in. So it's me, Ferris, and Metcalf. So you go, well, Ferris is on 250. So you get first gate pick. I get 21st gate pick.
Yeah.
So in Europe, Twitch and Tell is just like gate 1 just comes out and you sweep into the corner.
Yeah.
Like whole shots, man. You know? So that's a given thing. Like I could even start gate 1 and let everyone go and sneak around the inside and still get top 5 probably. You know, like that's like the way the gates are.
Yeah.
In Europe, in Europe, how they want it to be is almost like MotoGP. You qualify first, you're first.
Yeah.
So in Europe, to an extent, they want first qualifying to have the best gate pick.
And that gate to actually mean something.
Yeah. So that's how it is in Europe. So pretty much you just come out of the start and you just like sweep in. You've got Tim Guy, you've got Caroli. I've seen Caroli start from like gate 30 because he crashed in qualifying race and whole shot. There's dudes that can start. But just as a rule, whereas in Australia, our start's like this. So we're kind of starting near the box. And same within America. So that's why you see Ken Roczen whole shot, and then you'll be like Ken Roczen like 10th, like buried, like Eli Tomac buried, qualifies first, buried in the pack, like because the starts like that. Whereas at the Nations, there's, you know, that's why you see Ryan Villapoto whole shot both against the 450s, like because Ricky gave him the inside gate. Like there's a bit of
Buds, it actually does matter too.
There's a bit of, you know, strategy that goes into it.
Yeah.
So for sure, like you can go, let's say they qualify good first, which they're more than capable of. You sacrifice someone. Like, so you'll be like, okay, Hunter starts gate 1 and then, you know, Jet
starts gate 1.
Gate
Hunter
1.
21.
Hunter 21.
Yeah.
So Hunter's going to have a hard time getting a start. Like, because he's got to come all the way over. It's doable. They do it all the time. Like Max Nagel can start anywhere. But then you've got like Beaton, he'll be the same. Like you give him the gate. So yeah, if you can get your two boys around like in top 5, you're laughing. And I seen it like when we went to Madura, the Nations. So Mitch Evans was on the 250.
Yeah.
And that was his first, like, I think he come from an injury and like he was a fair bit off the pace and fitness and stuff.
Yeah.
So he was giving us the gates, me and Ferris. So yeah, I was starting next to Parado. Parado, man, was like 14 on a factory KDM, and he was the gate next to me. I got a GoPro of it, and yeah, so I come out in like 4th and finished 4th in that race. Ferris, same thing, like, you know, good start. But if we happen to be out there, like, different story. You honestly couldn't get a start from out there. So you've got that factor, and then you've got all these countries where they're like, oh man, we've only got one MXGP dude. So that's why you see, like, sometimes you'll see a country and there'll be like an MXGP dude and then there'll be 2 dudes you haven't heard of.
Yeah.
Like they probably don't even race World Championship. They're just racing like their state, like their country sort of stuff. So all of a sudden the top 10 gates sometimes won't be that good of riders.
Oh.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
because they're given the 250 dude who maybe no one's ever heard of.
Yeah.
They're getting the insight. Yeah, right.
Like, you know, you got like New Zealand, for example. Like, like you'll have Coops. Coops will be like a top 10 dude, and then the 250 dude will be getting lapped twice. You know, like you'll have that scenario.
But he'll still get the good gate.
Yeah. Well, it depends what their scenario is. A lot of the time they give it to Coops.
Yeah. But
yeah, so that's where we've always, it's like, it's hard. It's a hard thing because then you're like, I've never had that one time, with Mitch.
Yeah.
But the other nations I've done, the other 2, I've always been out.
Yeah.
Like, and you're out, way out. Like, Twitch until I crashed the first turn, both motos, because I was next to Barsha. Who else? There was like like DeSalle, like, you know, because all the
Good
250 dudes are up.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're all just screaming into this corner, and then Owen's backing off. Like, yeah, so it's it makes it really cool.
So you think that there's a good possibility that if we qualify decent and Jet gets that start, or like gets that number one gate pick in both motos, like but do you think that he can? Do you think like speed wise and riding wise, like he could go 1-1? Because man, we thought we'd never see that again after RV did it. But like honestly, Jet believes he can do it. Yeah,
I believe. Like for him, he's the thing that no one sort of thinks about is he's come from Europe. Like he's a Europe dude. So
he's Euro trash.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, but like he was in his
man, he's ridden all these tracks, everything.
Yeah, the years that he like developed, like when you really suck everything in, he was in Europe. Yeah, like he was riding the deep sand tracks, he was riding the hard pack Italian tracks. Like he's been there, he's raced the EMX 3 class, so he's like 2, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, like I seen him at in Italy in the deep sand. It was hot as hell, and Stephen Clark was racing, old Scuba Steve.
Scuba, he's a G.
Scuba might have been like 28 then. Yeah, you know, and he was winning those races then, and yeah, young Jet just comes through and wins the race. You couldn't even see him stand up on the seat. Like he was 14, just so thin and like just a kid. It was ridiculous. It was honestly like his bike should have been lower. Like, you know, it just looked, the bike looked so big. Yeah. And he wins against, it's unlimited age, like just unbelievable. So for me, yes, like Jed can go out there and just go 1-1.
That would be so sick. I would lose my fucking mind if that happened. Yeah. Like that would be, that would be just so good for Australian motorsport, just sport in general. But you think about like just the whole Australian thing right now, dude. We have some shit going down with our boys right now.
Oh, yeah.
We've got Mitch Evans, the Lawrences, Jed Beaton, Wilson Todd is over there. There's like Bailey Malkowicz is there. All right, then let's go Jack Miller, Billy Van, Daniel Ricciardo, like Jesus, Max Whale. We've got all of it. There's one of the boys is killing it in the world enduros. Man, it is thick right now with Australian talent, and it's like, man, I'm sitting here in like this media world and like fucking posting videos of like talking about this shit, and I'm like, oh my god, it's fucking happening. Yeah, we're taking over the world. Yeah, Australians are we're gonna do it. Yeah, and like, dude, we had weekends where you had Hunter winning, Jet winning, Jack Miller winning 2 weeks in a row, Daniel Ricciardo's top 5 in Formula 1. Like everywhere you look, an Australian was absolutely murdering it in Then we had that one weekend where like Maxwell won. I wrote down that. Yeah. Oh, Remy Gardner. Yeah. It is insane. So can you imagine, like, we've just been building and building and building and building and building. You got a year where Jack Miller wins multiple GPs. You got Ricciardo obviously doing that, and then you'd have Hunter and Jet. Like Jet could win the outdoor title. Like the boys could literally go 1-2. Yeah. Like Hunter's in third, Jet's in second. Yeah. Like, man, can you imagine what that would do? So like, let's say Jet wins the outdoor title, Hunter second, or flip that, and then we go and win Motocross of Nations. Yeah. And then you look across the landscape of Australian motorsports of like what everyone else is doing, and they're all winning too. Like, man. And the craziest part of it as well, they're all friends. Yeah. Everyone's talking to each other. Everyone, dude, Daniel Sanders in rally.
Oh, yeah, like, you missed out, Daniel.
Bro, I've probably missed more. Yeah. It is insane what's happening. And, like, I'm so excited to be a part of that culture. Yeah. Don't know why it's all hit the way that it has. Yeah. Like, it's crazy. We're just living in a crazy time.
You know what's interesting is all the names, all the stuff that you've just pointed out, none of them, except the off-road boys, none of them have ever gone from here and just won overseas. You know, like it's always a massive sacrifice, a massive input of like I talk about going when you're young, learning, like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's always like that.
Yeah.
You know, whereas,
Dude, I miss Jack Doohan. Sorry. Keep
yeah,
going.
whereas I believe Mick Doohan,
Yeah.
like back in the day, like he raced here and then just like went over and won world championships.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. He didn't go and live over there for since a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
And so that's like our off-road program is so strong here. Like it just goes to show, you know, like the off-road program here is massive. Like whatever it is, our terrain, like it must just work with like the being able to prepare yourself.
Yeah.
Like
for
here
those,
in Australia.
Yeah.
Like a swimmer, for example, it don't matter. You just swim.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
here,
look at Australians for surfing. I've always said it.
Yeah. But so here in Australia, we must have like just really good terrain to just be able to compete competitively around the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Like I say, like it's difficult with motocross and especially supercross because
We don't have the training grounds.
it's just so different. Like it'd be fine if we had world championships here, but it's not. It's not like the World Surfing League. Like it's not like, you know, if they had a round of the World Surfing League at Coolum, you know, knowing how to surf small waves.
Yeah.
You know, like here, our tracks are just so different.
Well, like Snapper Rocks is Lommel.
Yeah.
You know, and then you got kids that grow up surfing
Yeah.
Snapper Rocks in the same way that you had Hurlings growing up racing Lommel.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right, man. Like these boys
like
have
Daniel-
all had to go and grind.
Yeah, but like look at Toby. Toby goes over and wins Dakar, man.
second time.
Like what the hell? Honestly, like just flies over and wins it. Like it's not like he, you know, went and lived over there and spent like that the motocross crew have to.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like so what Toby's program was here was
sufficient.
Really competitive.
Yeah.
To allow him to do what he needed to do. And now you've got Sanders winning World Rally stages and stuff. Like, he's following in the footsteps. Exactly the same thing. Like,
shows up, blows
competitive,
up. Yeah.
you know. And, you know, we've got Milner, who's, like him and Sanders go and they best in the world. Like, we've got best in the world dudes. I mean, like right now, like in off-road that I race against, like best in the world. Whereas as a motocross racer, it's like Chad Reed's the best dude of all time, and I've never seen him really ride.
Yeah.
Because he ain't here.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a fact. Like, whereas I go race with Sanders and Milner.
Yeah.
Like, so it's kind of, it's interesting. That's what I'm enjoying about the off-road actually, is
You've got world-class talent to test yourself against.
It's like, man, I really want to beat Milner. And it's like...
That's like you racing motocross and saying you really want to beat Roxon.
Exactly. It's like, it's a big thing to beat that dude. Like, it really is. In his home turf that he's been riding for his whole entire life. Like, it's not like taking Roxon to Italy and racing him there. But yeah, it's like, here in Australia, the dude's a badass at off-road. And everyone, they don't realise that. They don't look at that. They don't give the guys credit.
Respect,
about that, because like exactly like the Lawrence boys, like they were here, they were racing, but they
left years ago.
Gone, like, you know, long time ago.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it is riding a bike, but I do feel like I just don't know. I've never seen a dude race here, like, and progress himself fast enough and be able to
without leaving.
Yeah, like, you know, like Crowley, he goes and races at Nations or Hurlings and Coldenoff. They go and race at Redbud Nations and win it. Yeah, you know, in like out of their country because they're just badass dudes. But I've never seen an Australian just race here and like go kick ass on the world thing. Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what effect this current generation has. You know, because that they're not isolated. Yep. Like Hunter and Ricardo are talking all the time. Yep. You know, you got Jack and Toby, and you got all these boys. Like everyone's homies. Jed's homies with everyone. like that sort of wasn't around back when, you know, we've had like Casey Stoner and Mick Dillon, you know, like we've had those guys. Chad Reed lived on a fucking island. No one spoke to Chad.
Yeah.
You know, but now we're in this era of Australians that are killing it on the world stage, and everyone's feeding off each other's energy. And there's a vibe that's going, and everyone's posting about each other's success. Everyone's building each other up. And like, we haven't seen that before. We haven't seen this many dudes doing this well and all like fully lifting each other up and fully supporting each other. And it's like Australia, or, you know, you hear people say like, oh, Australia's got that tall poppy syndrome. No, I'm not seeing it.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing it from these guys.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a bunch of dudes that froth on each other and really want each other to do well. And like, can you imagine being Hunter Lawrence getting a text from Daniel Ricciardo and being like, bro, I'm such a fucking fan. Like, you're killing it, man. Like, so stoked for going 1-1, you know? Like, you got Daniel fucking Ricciardo.
Yeah.
That is frothing on an Aussie motocross kid killing it.
Yeah.
You know, and then you've got like Jack Miller that's doing the same thing, and you've got Jed, or like Jed and Jack are riding together.
Yeah.
Like Jack Miller is doing outdoor motos on a fucking Husky with Jed Beaton. Like, dude, we're living in the sickest time for Australian motorsports. And I'm like, I'm excited to see what these boys can do.
Yep.
And then I'm excited to see what like ripple effect that has on other Australians, because like we didn't have that shit when we were growing up.
No.
We looked at Chad, that was it. We had one dude, and then he was extremely inaccessible to everybody. But now, man, we've got this like contingent of just dope Aussies.
Yeah.
Like just absolute badass Aussies, and everyone's on board and they're all helping each other. So like, that's my feeling about this whole Motocross of Nations thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I'm looking around, and if I'm watching this as a movie, like there could be a happy ending.
Yeah,
like this could be
definitely.
a movie with a super dope ending.
Yeah.
And that is Jack Miller winning a world title, Jed Beaton getting more podiums, Hunter or Jet winning the AMA Outdoors, and then they go and win the Motocross of Nations. Australia wins the Motocross of Nations for the first time. Like, dude, 2021, hectic year for Aussies.
Massive. Man, if they won, like it would just be, it'd be insane. And I think it would start rolling where they would win a couple.
That's the expectation.
I believe once, because these boys,
they're young.
like honestly, it would roll. It'd be like a France episode where they just
like a dynasty kind of. Yeah.
Be massive.
Yeah, I'm excited. Well, hey, we just did 3 hours and 40 minutes.
Okay, man.
Get the fuck out. Nah, thanks, Toddy.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Jace.
I know.
Sick.
Started off as you coming in for lunch, and we've been like, we haven't really spoken in a while.
Yeah.
Even though we
Let's
see each
have a
other
yarn.
every day.
Nah, it's good. It's always good coming in, having a yarn.
Appreciate you, mate.
I like the Buddhism. It's got me revved up about something.
Yeah.
I need to go work on some stuff.
Yeah.
I like having a chat. It just brings out things, doesn't it?
It is good. Well, let's do some more riding too.
Yeah.
Every Tuesday at Coolum. Sufferfest. Let's go.
Sounds good.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.